On March 27th, 2020, I created my very first What If video, titled Dragon Ball What Affinity. That video was a love letter to my favorite Dragon Ball creator, MASAKOX. I combined all of his What If stories at the time into one huge timeline and one series. It was a very fun video to make, but if you look back on it now, it's pretty poorly done. It was over 2 years ago after all. Years have gone by, I've grown my channel more, Masako has made more what ifs, and surprisingly, I still have people in my comments to this day asking for new parts of the old series. It's something I've always wanted to go back to, but now I feel it's finally time. I reached out to Masako on Twitter, asking permission if I could begin work on this video, which he replied, sure. I may not have hit 25k, but hey, 23 is close enough. Hopefully this video can be pushed out there to help me get to 25k though, and if I hit that, then new parts may be put into production. So make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're interested in future parts. Now, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the concept of a what affinity, let me break some things down. A what affinity is where we take multiple scenarios and put them all into one universe. For example, if we take what if Raditz turned good and what if Gane went to Earth with Goku, and merge them into one universe, that counts as a crossover what if. Now if we take the entire backlog of what ifs from Masako's channel, then we get a what affinity, which, as the name implies, is an infinite number of what ifs placed into a single timeline. This is going to be a gigantic project, and well, it'll be tough to do it alone. I hope that all of the hard work will be worth it in the end. Before we begin, there will be some gigantic changes for the stories I need to address. Number 1. There are what ifs that Masako created that contradict each other. For example, what if Goku never met Bulma, and what if Goku married Bulma cannot exist in the same reality for obvious reasons. So, I'll have to choose which scenario over the other can logically fit into the larger timeline. 2. I will not be including the mini what if stories that have been created into this scenario, as those are not full stories and some of them have little to no greater change on the story anyways, so only the full stories that he created will be included. 3. Masako has dived into the Dragon Ball Z movies, and has even made what ifs that include the Dragon Ball Z Broly and the Dragon Ball Super Broly. These are two different Brolys that cannot exist in one scenario, so to not completely neglect one giant what if from the channel, I've decided to make a compromise. I will be having both versions of Broly be included, with them born as twins, similar to my own what if on What If the Brolys Were Twins if you want to check that out. That way, everybody can be happy. 4. Finally, after my first what affinity, I stuck with the what if Goku is female what if to make Goku a female. This again contradicts other what if stories, which only work if Goku is a male, such as him and Chi-Chi or Bulma having Gohan. So to rectify this, and thanks to a suggestion from Semroth from my Discord server, I'll be doing the same thing I'm doing with Broly, and making there be 2 Gokus, one male and one female, to once again try and make everybody happy. So those are the big changes of this series I needed to address. Masako, if you're watching this, feel free to let me know if these changes are to your liking, and if you'd like me to go in a different direction or not. Thank you. With all of that, let's finally begin the rebooted MASAKOX What Affinity. Countless millennia ago, the evil Majin Buu was terrorizing the universe. He and his master Bibidi had gone on to destroy hundreds of planets and kill/absorb many of the Supreme Kais. The only Kais left were the Grand Supreme Kai and the East Supreme Kai. The Grand Kai managed to defend the East Kai, Shin, and it cost him his life, as he was absorbed by Majin Buu. This absorption calmed Buu, turning him into the much nicer, fat Buu. This version of Buu was no longer obedient, which resulted in Bibidi having to seal him away to transport him from planet to planet. On Earth, however, Shin managed to track Bibidi down and put an end to him once and for all. Shin left Buu's egg on Earth to not disturb it and awaken the beast, then leaves the planet to become the Supreme Kai. In this timeline, Shin has decided that he isn't just going to sit around and watch the universe become a wasteland. He wants to avenge his fellow gods and help make the universe a better place after all of the evil Majin Buu caused. This is Shin's beginning as a great Supreme Kai, going from world to world to help the mortals and raise Universe 7's ranks higher than they ever were. Eventually, Shin's other half, the god of destruction Beerus, awakens from his slumber, and is stopped by Shin as he tries to destroy the planets around them. Shin stands up to Beerus, knowing he can't kill him or else he'd be killed himself. he tells Beerus that they need to create a support system, where Shin can tell Beerus the correct worlds to destroy, that way he doesn't accidentally destroy a planet that can prosper in the future. Beerus isn't fond of taking orders from the Kai, but after Shin brings up that it would displease Zeno to have him disagree, Beerus decides to comply, as he doesn't want to be erased by the Lord of Everything. Beerus and Shin create their support system, and with Beerus only destroying the planets that Shin tells him to, this creates a consistently great mortal count for Universe 7, putting it pretty high up into rankings. This goes on for many more years, with eventually the Saiyans of Planet Plant rising up and creating their own society. Eventually, there is a civil war on the planet, with a number of good Saiyans fighting against the evil ones. Shin made sure to watch this closely, as any kind of race that destroys themselves without interference is a race that may have to be destroyed by Beerus. However, to Shin's surprise, there are 5 extremely pure-hearted Saiyans that pour their energy into the Saiyan known as Yamoshi, which transforms him into the being known as the Super Saiyan God. As the Super Saiyan God, Yamoshi is able to fight off the evil Saiyans to protect the planet, though with there being so many evil Saiyans, even this godly power isn't enough to take them all down. When all hope seems lost for him, Shin comes down and erases all of the evil Saiyans on Planet Plant. Shin tells Yamoshi that this kind of power he has is enormous. A mortal gaining divine energy like this is something he's never seen before. He could be a great asset in making the universe a better place. Yamoshi doesn't quite understand what Shin is talking about, as he's just a small-brained Saiyan after all, but once Shin takes Yamoshi to his realm to show him what he's talking about, Yamoshi understands. He's trained by Shin and Kibito to harness these godly powers of his once again. That way, he can protect not only Planet Plant, but the rest of the universe as well. Eventually, Beerus and Whis arrive once more in Shin's realm to see what this godly Saiyan is made of, as Beerus has never met a mortal with godly powers. Yamoshi transforms into a Super Saiyan God to battle Beerus, with this being the strongest mortal he's ever fought. Yamoshi is still no match for him, but the God of Destruction is impressed with his display of power and invites him to train on their planet. Yamoshi would be honored and leaves Shin's realm to train with him and Whis. Yamoshi is eventually able to perfect a Super Saiyan God transformation under the Angel and God, but never anything further, and they don't believe there's anything further for him. Once there's nothing left for him to learn, as Ultra Instinct is out of the bag for any normal Saiyan, Yamoshi is allowed to finally return home to Planet Plant to be its protector. As the new godly king of the Saiyans, Yamoshi rules the planet, allowing the Saiyans not to get into any more civil wars, so the Saiyans never have to leave Planet Plant, and this is their permanent home. Though, it does eventually get a name change into Planet Sadala. Shin is happy that he was able to make a better life for these Saiyans, and make sure to continue going out to help them achieve their full potential. Many years pass, with Yamoshi naturally passing on into the other world, leaving his offspring to continue the Saiyan legacy. One of the most noteworthy things to occur is a Namekian cataclysm, which Shin arrives to help with, making it so that there are many more Namekians that survive. Of course, the son of Katas, the nameless Namekian, is still sent off-world to have a better life on Earth. Things seem to be going well for the mortals in Universe 7, though there is a group that strives to use the others for their own gain, to profit off of their planets and sell to the highest bidder. This group are the Frost Demons, led by King Glacier. Glacier has begun his empire small, reaching out to conquer worlds off of Shin's radar to not alert the Kai of what he's doing. His empire does eventually begin to get a name for itself though, and while Shin does catch wind of it, Beerus makes sure to tell him not to interfere, as these Frost Demons are making his job easier, destroying the planets he normally would. Shin tries to fight this with Beerus, as if they destroy the wrong planets, their mortal count would face a significant drop, and Zeno would be very displeased. To ease his worries, Beerus tells him he'll make sure to tell the Frost Demons exactly what planets to destroy to not get on Shin's bad side. This makes Shin more comfortable, but of course, Beerus was telling him what he wanted to hear, and went back to sleep on his planet, allowing the Frost Demons to get away with whatever they wanted. Eventually, the Saiyans had begun to have trouble amongst each other once more, as with the passing of Yamoshi and most of the good Saiyans, we were starting to get the prideful, arrogant Saiyans rising up. The current Saiyan King, King Vegeta II, reached out to Glacier and the Frost Demons, saying they can work for them in exchange for their resources. Glacier isn't happy with the idea of the Saiyans working for them, but his son, Prince Cold, is more than happy to have these monkeys do all of their work for them. The Saiyans are eventually taken in by the Frost Demons and sent out to conquer their world for them with this brand new technology. Other Saiyans are given access to work on and take care of this new equipment, such as the new scout scopes, nursing capsules, and space pods. The ones tasked with taking care of the pods are a Saiyan named Pinter and his young son, Bardock. The two Saiyans make sure that all of the pods are taken care of and ready for space travel pretty much every day. One day though, Bardock catches a bunch of young Saiyans fooling around near the pods and shoots them all off. They all hurry out of there scared, except for one. The young Gine stays behind, just fascinated by all of this new technology in the room. She's not scared of Bardock at all. Gine is a very low-class Saiyan, as when she was born, she had an extremely low power level, so was abandoned by her mother to fend for herself. She's mainly just a young scavenger now, who is very curious on the ways of other Saiyan culture. Since Bardock can't scare her away, and isn't angry enough to beat on her and take her out, he allows her to stay and show her what he does for a living. He's just as fascinated with her as she is with these pods, which makes the two pretty close whenever she comes by. Though, one day, Gine decides to go inside one of the pods, and after messing with a few of the controls, blasts right off of the planet. Bardock sees her take off, and while he is annoyed that she took a pod without asking him, he understands why she'd want to leave. As far as he knows, he's her only real ally. While Gine blasts off of the planet, Glacier and his son Cold have an argument about the Saiyans. Glacier thinks they are too reckless and out of control, and wants to destroy the whole race. Cold informs him it isn't a good idea, as these Saiyans can do so much for them, and to destroy them all would hinder the Empire entirely. Glacier doesn't tolerate the disrespect from his son and attacks him. However, Glacier is far too old and weak now to do any real damage to Cold. Cold, done with his father's weak ruling, kills him with a simple death beam to the head, becoming the new ruler of the Frost Demon clan, King Cold. Gine, meanwhile, crash lands on a planet called Earth. She is worried about this place, as it seems very dangerous in these woods, but eventually she is found by an Earthling. Gine gets ready to fight with him, but the Earthling informs the little girl he means no harm. He just wants to see how she got here. He tells her that his name is Son Gohan. Gine has a unique trait compared to the other Saiyans, where she can sense the goodness in people. She can sense the goodness in Gohan, so decides to go off with him and explain everything about the Saiyans and how she got there. Gohan is pretty fascinated by the fact that there are aliens out there, and that Gine herself is one, since she looks very human except for the tail. Gohan makes sure to take good care of Gine, since she really has nobody else now. This is the life for her. She never had a real childhood on planet Sadala, as her mother abandoned her, and she was treated like an outsider because of her weak battle power. People on Earth seemingly don't have those kind of class restrictions from birth, and with Gohan, she's treated like an actual person. She has a great time here, just getting to act like an actual child. There is a part of her though, that feels bad for that boy Bardock. He was the one who was really nice to her, and he shouldn't have to suffer alone on planet Sadala. She's thought about going back and trying to convince him to come along, but she doesn't remember how to work the ship, so she'd have no way of going to him. Gine just keeps living a life on Earth, and one day, she accidentally looks up at the moon and transforms into a great ape. Great Ape Gine goes on a rampage, wrecking Gohan's house and everything around them. Gohan is able to grab his power pole and hold her off the best that he can. Since he's a lot younger here, he has a much easier time being able to evade and hold her off. He doesn't want to hurt his stepdaughter, but unfortunately has to try and do something before she kills him. When he hits her tail, she slows down by quite a bit. Thankfully, still in monster form, this is his daughter's weakness. Gohan hits her tail with his power pole to slow her down, and then launches his signature technique, the Kamehameha wave, right at it to blow it clean off. With her tail gone, Gine reverts back to normal, not remembering what happened at all. Gohan doesn't tell her what she became, but just tells her not to look at the full moon ever again, or a monster will come out. Some years go by, and eventually another man visits them in the woods. A man who looks a lot less threatening than Gohan, but around his age. Gohan and Gine go out to see what he wants, and the man introduces himself as Dr. Briefs. He is a scientist from West City who is out looking for these so-called Dragon Balls. He's seen some information about them in old stories he found in his basement, so decided to go out and try and find some of them. It's not perfect, but he does have a radar that can track some of them, and it led him here. Gohan and Gine trust this guy, as he doesn't seem to have any ill intent at all. They do have the 4-star Dragon Ball here, so if it can be used for something, then all the power to him. Dr. Briefs explains that they both seem pretty strong, and he won't survive our hero on his own, so asks if they can come with him. Gohan is eager to go out on an adventure with his daughter, and decides to head on out so they can have a nice journey. To 3, go out on a grand adventure to find the Dragon Balls, and the journey is one without any dangers really, since nobody else is searching for the Dragon Balls in this era. Sure, they almost got mugged a few times, but Gohan is able to fight them off with no issues at all. This journey really helps Gine see more of the planet and how beautiful it is outside of Gohan's house. This is truly the place she'd like to spend the rest of her life on. It is a much more beautiful planet than Sadala, and she loves this place more and more by the second. After traversing the world, they eventually are able to gather all 7 of the mystical Dragon Balls. Once they have them all, Dr. Bruce doesn't really have anything to wish for, so offers the 2 of them the wish. Gohan offers it to Gine, who, after thinking it over for a long time, has her wish. Gine loves people and always wants to do the best for them, or at least try. Her race is one that is full of bad people and ruled over somebody much worse. There are people in her race that she knows deserve a better life, a life much better than the one they have now, on constantly battling and being abused by Glacier and his son Cold. She wants to go back to planet Sadala and try and convince some of her Saiyan friends to come to Earth with her, where they can live a happy life. Gohan isn't sure, as he doesn't want his daughter to leave him and go back to that dangerous place, but comes around as it is her choice, and he just wants what is best for her. This isn't a goodbye forever, as she says she'll see him again someday. Shenron, the Dragon God, erupts from the 7 Dragon Balls, asking what they would like to wish for. Gine wishes to be sent back to Sadala, and her wish is granted. Gohan and Briefs watch as Gine is teleported off of the planet, as the Dragon Balls scatter across the land. When Gine made her return to planet Sadala, not much had changed, besides her finding out that Cold is the new king of the Frost Demons and their ruler now. She goes back to Bardock to try and convince him to come to Earth with her, as it's a beautiful planet and there would be no wars to fight. Bardock hasn't seen her in years and says he's not going anywhere right now, as he's been deployed to go on all sorts of missions. He can be with her when he's finished, but he's not looking for the peaceful life right now. Gine is kinda disappointed, but understands why he won't come with her. He doesn't know her that well after all, especially since it's been many years since they last saw each other. But she doesn't want him to go on all these missions and just end up killing himself. She's learned a great deal of martial arts from Gohan, and decides that it'll be a win-win if she goes off and joins Bardock on these missions of his. She gets to show off what she can do, and help him not die. Plus, she gets to know him better. Bardock is reluctant to let her go along with him and his crew, but she ain't taking no for an answer and goes off with him anyway. Over the years, Gine has become a good member of Bardock's crew, somebody who is very helpful in taking on all of the worlds they traverse through, though she isn't like the typical Saiyan, as she never kills any of her opponents. This gets on Fasha's nerves especially, as she digs into Gine for never being able to finish the job. But this actually makes Bardock fall for her more than he already had. Gine is very different from all the other Saiyans. She's kind, pure-hearted, and even though she loves battle, she never kills anybody. It's something so pure, and while he'd never admit it, he loves it about her. Eventually, the two are able to shack up, and she becomes pregnant with their first child, Raditz. Gine is benched from the action for a bit, but eventually is able to place the baby Raditz into his nursing pod to grow himself. That way she can continue on her missions. She makes sure not to abandon the boy though, and to try to spend as much time with him as she possibly can, since she never wants to abandon him the way that her mother abandoned her. Eventually though, King Vegeta begins to notice that Bardock's crew in particular is growing stronger and stronger by the day. He's nervous that maybe one day they'll overtake him in power. And his son is about to be born, so he can't have him be the weaker Saiyan to these low-class warriors. He sends off one of his elite soldiers, Nappa, to go and watch after the crew, which Nappa proudly accepts. Nappa joins up with Bardock's crew undercover by getting into a relationship with Fasha, and throughout his time with them, he gets very annoyed by the prospect of Gine sparing her enemies. He lays into her, telling her that she's not a true Saiyan for never killing, and that if she keeps being soft like this, he's going to report her to King Vegeta and have her exiled from the planet. This doesn't make Gine very happy, and she tells off Nappa to his face, which leads to a brawl between the two. Toma jumps up asking Bardock if they should stop this, but Bardock just shrugs and says not to worry, she'll be able to handle this on her own. Gine and Nappa continue their fight, with Nappa surprised that he's not able to do any damage to the woman. How is that possible? He explodes into his full power, and he rushes her once again. And this is actually enough to get Gine to go full power as well. And Her full power is way above that of Nappa's. In a rage, she ducks under one of his punches, grabs onto his arm, and swings her way towards his chest, landing a devastating double kick to it, piercing his flesh. Nappa collapsed to the ground in agonizing pain, with Gine looking at him in disgust. She says that her time with Gohan made her hone in her Saiyan abilities and control them. If she never trained to them, then she definitely would have killed him just now. But, thankfully for him, she controlled herself. If he ever tries anything with her again, though, he won't be so lucky. Fasha glares daggers at Gine and grabs Nappa, flying off to go and get him into a nursing pod. Bardock found this whole encounter mad sexy, and he gets her pregnant again with another kid. This time, the daughter of the two, Jocha. Once Nappa is returned, King Vegeta begins to get angrier and angrier. If a Saiyan woman can take out Nappa like this, then it's only a matter of time until he's usurped himself. He's gonna need to go on more missions himself to get more power of his very own. The Saiyan King, King Vegeta III, has gone off on many missions throughout his time as king, and has deployed many troops now to take over this planet full of psychics. King Cold isn't a fan of these psychics as their future vision may be an annoyance in the future, so he sends the Saiyans to take them out. King Vegeta and the others lay waste to the planet, with the Canassins not really being able to do much against the sheer might of these brutes. Though, one of them is able to get a good hit on the back of King Vegeta's neck, and curses him with their own future sight. The Canassin is killed immediately after landing this blow, but it hinders the king for a bit as visions begin to flash through his head of his newborn son, of King Cold's son, and their planet being destroyed. The Saiyans can tell that the king is thrown for a loop right now, and have to cut the invasion early to get him out of there and tend for him. With the Saiyans gone, the remaining Canassins try and go and escape to find nearby worlds to settle on, that way they don't all get wiped out. Back on the planet, King Vegeta suffers more, seeing the planet destroyed by King Cold's son Frieza. He's furious that the Frost Demons may wipe them out after everything that they've done for them, but still isn't too sure if these visions are correct. That is until a vision he had comes true the next day. He had a vision that King Cold would bring Frieza to announce that with his retirement, Frieza would take over the operations of the Saiyans, and this is exactly what happens. With his future visions the real deal, King Vegeta decides to plot a way and try and defeat Frieza for good. He goes to visit his son, Vegeta IV, in his nursing pod, and gets more visions of him when he's older, and of the Saiyans, Broly. Both of the Brolys, the sons of Paragus, are also in the nursing pods near Prince Vegeta, and while this normally would have infuriated the king, he can see what these Saiyans may become, and maybe a huge help in dealing with Frieza and King Cold in the future. He can see so many paths these two can take, and after getting many more visions, he can tell which ones will be the best. If he sends one of them off planet, he will be picked up by the most powerful being in the universe, and if he keeps one here as his own son, then his son may become the most powerful being in the universe. The king sets his plan into action by sending one of the boys off to Vampa, with his father Paragus following after him. Knowing that Paragus will never return, he keeps his other boy, Broly, to raise as his own son. Prince Vegeta, Tarbell, and Broly are raised as brothers, and with this Broly never around to hear Kakarot, the other son of Bardock and Gine, cry, he won't have resentment for him at all. With these three Saiyan brothers together, this means that Raditz will never have a chance to go in with them, as he is far too weak to be a meaningful ally to the princes. This upsets Raditz a great deal. He's the oldest of his four siblings. Since in the time that Gine has been with Bardock, she's had Jocha and twin babies. One she gave a traditional Saiyan name, Kakarot, and the other she decided to honor her time on Earth and give her daughter a name related to that of Gohan. So she names her daughter Goku. Raditz and Jocha don't really get along too well since they're so close in age and end up fighting quite a bit. He wants to be a little brat and maybe get Jocha out of the picture by having her be taken away, but Gine is able to find out this little plan of his and kicks the crap out of him for even suggesting it. However, King Vegeta gets another future vision of Jocha. Jocha is a way to get back at Bardock and Gine, and a way to help in the fight against Frieza. Yes, he needs the girl, so he hires Obito, one of the Saiyan elites, to kidnap her in the night, which he does, and Jocha is taken away. Obito returns her to Vegeta, where he tells her that she's been chosen for a very special mission with other low-class warriors to go and find a new home for the Saiyans. As if his plan fails, then they'll need a new one. She's going to be tasked with Turles' group of Saiyans to go off-world and find a new home. Jocha obviously doesn't want to go and just wants her family back, but Vegeta doesn't care, and she is sent off with Turles' crew anyways. Once Bardock and Gine find out that Jocha has been kidnapped, they are extremely angered and do everything in their power to find out what happened to her. But since Vegeta covered his tracks pretty good, they really have no chance of finding her. Gine is devastated, as she failed as a mother. She's just as bad as hers was. But Bardock is able to calm her down and say that no matter what, she's nothing like her own mother. They'll continue to go to other worlds, and maybe they'll be able to find Jocha and bring her home. Bardock is able to calm Gine down enough, and they continue traveling through other worlds to find Jocha. Eventually, the Saiyan group are tasked with heading off to the planet Cereal. While on Cereal, the Saiyans decimate everything in their path, as they have been before, until this time, both Bardock and Gine find the Cerealian Mizuli and her young son, Granola. The two realize the innocence of these two and can't bring themselves to end them as the others were, so Gine makes sure to comfort the two, to let them know that they're not in any danger. Gine and Bardock hide them away as the other Saiyans leave back to Planet Plant. As they go to hide the two, they're suddenly ambushed by a Namekian, who is promptly stopped in the tracks since he's very weak. The two tell the Namekian that they mean no harm and are just here to hide out the Cerealians. The Namekian introduces himself as Manito and heals the two up, apologizing for attacking them. As they're getting healed, they notice that in the distance the Heaters have arrived on the planet and are ready to sell it off. The two Saiyans are a bit nervous seeing them, as they're power brokers who have all sorts of weird abilities it seems, and they don't want to get in their way. Right as they're about to leave though, Granola wakes up and begins shouting once he sees the Saiyans. Manito is able to put him to sleep right away, but his screams did alert the Heaters, who immediately come into this direction. Bardock and Gine quickly get into a position where it seems like they're going to kill them to get the Heaters on their good side, but the ploy doesn't work, as Alec, the leader of the Heaters, just tells them to kill the two. Since they hesitate, Alec goes to shoot at Mizuli to kill her, until Gine steps in the way and deflects the shot right back at Alec, hitting him instead and killing him instantly. The other Heaters gasp in shock, with Gas kneeling down to his fallen brother and then exploding in rage. Gas rushes Gine, with Bardock jumping in front of her and blocking his blow. Gine yells out for the others to get out of there, as she runs in to help Bardock. The two battle it out with Gas, with him summoning all sorts of weapons to battle the two. It's a tough bout, with Gas being able to deal really strong damage. But since the two have been training together for many years now, Bardock and Gine are now way stronger than they were in canon, so are able to put up a much better fight. But not as much when Gas transforms into his berserker state. Gine is almost beaten to unconsciousness, with Bardock able to barely hang on, but he is eventually able to deal the final blow with a full power spirit cannon, and this is enough to wipe Gas off of the face of Cereal. With Alec and Gas defeated, Maki and Oil know that they have zero chance against these Saiyans, so run off of the planet to go out and hide. With the Heaters all defeated, Manito heals up the two to the best of his ability, with them apologizing for the whole mess. They offer to take them with them off the Planet Plant, but Manito says that they'll be fine. He has a way of bringing everything back to normal. The two don't ask any more questions and wish the group luck leaving the planet. As soon as they leave, Manito takes out his own set of Dragon Balls and wishes for the people of Planet Cereal to be returned to life. As soon as everybody is back, he then wishes for Cereal to be teleported far outside of Frieza's radar, that way he'll never be able to find them. After Cereal, Bardock and Gine continue their search for Jocha, and eventually are sent off to Planet Kanasa by King Vegeta, as a part of his plan to take down Frieza, unbeknownst to these Saiyans. Bardock and his crew pretty easily wrecked the planet, and wondering why they were sent here in the first place, since it was pretty easy. But while Bardock is off on his own, he comes across a surviving Kanasan. He wonders how that's possible, since he thought the king wiped them all out. But the Kanasan explains to him how he was able to escape the genocide of his race to make it here. He's seen the future and seen that the Saiyan King Vegeta also has his future vision, and that for years he's been trying to find a way to save the Saiyan race from its destruction by Frieza. Bardock has no idea how this Kanasan can know about things like that, and assumes that he's lying. There's no way Vegeta can see the future. The Kanasan tells Bardock he can prove it to him if he strikes him through the heart, as if he does, then he will gain his powers of foresight. He has nothing to live for anymore, so he may as well die knowing he can get revenge on the frost demons for being the ones to destroy his people. Bardock grants the creature his death, and once the creature is stricken to the heart, he is granted the power of foresight. Bardock screams out as future visions begin to flood through his head. He sees many possible futures for him and his family, ones that really seem to relate to Frieza destroying his planet and killing everybody on it. Bardock collapses to the ground as his crew comes to see if he's okay. Before he's out, he warns them of Dodoria coming to kill the ball, and with that, he passes out. The crew wonder why Dodoria would come to kill them, and don't think Bardock would just say something like that to be funny. So decide to take it seriously. They put Bardock into his pod, putting the life support system on him so he won't die on them, as they wait for Dodoria and his men to show. Eventually, they do, and the crew overhear Dodoria tell his men to find the Saiyans and kill them before they return to Sadala. The crew can't believe it, as this means Bardock was right, and Frieza is turning on them. They can't let him get away with this, and sneakily go around killing Dodoria's men. That way, they only have to deal with Dodoria himself. Once the soldiers are taken out, the crew all jump Dodoria, but get more than they bargained for since his power is much higher than theirs. They are all curb stomped with his sheer might, just being too much for them. Right as all hope seems lost, Bardock appears to help them out. It's a tough fight for them, but since Bardock has gotten a slight Zenkai boost, they are all able to kill Dodoria with a mighty blast. With Dodoria dead, the crew head back to planet Sadala to warn the others. Once back on Sadala, Bardock and his crew go right up to King Vegeta to warn him of Frieza wiping out their race. King Vegeta tells them he's known for a while now, and even sent off Bardock to that world in particular, foreseeing that he would get future sight as well. With there being multiple Saiyans now knowing of Frieza's plans, now they can convince the other Saiyans to follow along with them in taking the tyrant out. Orders are given for Saiyans to be evacuated off of the planet, with Bardock making sure to go to Guinea to get their children off of the planet too, and onto Earth where they will be safe. Guinea wants to stay and help her husband, but he says this is something he needs to do with warriors, and he'll try to come back for her if he survives. Bardock flies away as Guinea gets her children. She grabs Raditz and takes her twin babies out of the nursing pods. Her son, Kakarot, and her daughter, Goku, who she gave a similar name to her adopted father, Gohan. She brings them to the Saiyan pods, and places them all into different ones she can find, setting the coordinates for Earth and hoping that they'll land around Gohan's house. Raditz and Kakarot are sent off individually as she gets inside a pod with Goku and blasts off for Earth, hoping that her husband will be okay. Bardock, King Vegeta, and his crew all fly up to Frieza's ship flying overhead, with other Saiyans joining them to battle members of Frieza's army. Before they can make it into the ship, they are stopped by Zarbon, who is not allowing them anywhere near Frieza. They all fight with Zarbon, with them being extremely outclassed. King Vegeta has been training for years to fight off the monster, but even he can't do much on his own. Many of Bardock's crew are knocked out and left for dead, with him and King Vegeta about to be taken out as well. The other Saiyans all around them are dying. The ones fighting the soldiers and some of the ships that they're escaping in are being shot down. All hope really seems lost. Make it even worse, Frieza flies out of his ship to congratulate Zarbon on a job well done, and that he'll take care of the king himself. King Vegeta turns to Bardock, saying he's seen this outcome many times, and that his death is the only way to save their race. Bardock is their last hope now, and the fate of the Saiyan race rests on his shoulders. King Vegeta is shot in the head with a death beam, killing him instantly, as his body floats off towards the planet. The king's words hit Bardock hard, as he looks around to see his crew on death's door and the others dying. He won't let Frieza get away with this after everything they've done for him. Bardock is filled with rage as his power level rises and rises. He explodes in a golden light, transforming into the one thing Frieza and Frieza's grandfather feared the most, the legendary Super Saiyan. Bardock kills Zarbon with one blow as he stares up at Frieza. Frieza stares at Bardock in fear. No, this transformation, this can't be what he thinks it is. He's not going to die here today to a Super Saiyan. Frieza throws a supernova down towards Bardock and the planet as Bardock fires his final spirit cannon right at the attack. The two have a beam struggle, with Frieza not believing that a mere Saiyan is holding this attack back all on his own. Frieza attempts to put more power into the attack, with Bardock being pushed back some more, until his crew fire their attacks as well, and the remaining Saiyans alongside him fire theirs. With all of these blasts pushing the attack back, The supernova is launched right back towards Frieza. Frieza screams out, not believing that the legend is real. He refuses for it to be real. Frieza screams and explodes into his second form. The supernova is dissipated alongside the rest of the beams, with Bardock's crew looking horrified at the might of Frieza. None of them had any idea that he could transform. Bardock pushes him aside, saying that it doesn't matter. He's become the thing that Frieza fears most, the legendary Super Saiyan. He's going to end him right here and right now. Frieza rushes into Bardock, with the two beginning their bout, going blow for blow. Planet Plant shakes over the two's battle, with Bardock's crew struggling to stay in the air. Now, while in canon, Bardock, even as a Super Saiyan, would struggle against second form Frieza. But in this timeline, Bardock has gotten much stronger. So with the 50% Super Saiyan multiplier, he's able to handle second form Frieza. However, that's definitely the most that he can handle, as Frieza is beginning to get even more angry. He blasts Bardock aside and begins his transformation into his third form. Bardock rushes back in to try and stop him, but Frieza, now in his third transformation, catches his fist. Bardock turns for a roundhouse kick to the side of Frieza's head, but Frieza lands a devastating blow on Bardock's chest. Bardock spits blood as Frieza begins to pelt him with countless death beams. Bardock screams out in pain as the death beams flood all over him, with him being slowly pushed back towards Plant. Frieza laughs out, saying that even the mighty Super Saiyan of legend stands no chance against him. Suddenly though, Frieza finds that he's paralyzed. He doesn't understand, as he's suddenly thrown hundreds of feet away. The Supreme Kai flies onto the scene, having intervened and thrown Frieza away to buy some time. The Kai flies over to Bardock, saying that he can't defeat Frieza himself without angering Lord Beerus, but with his help, there's a way that he can defeat Frieza. Bardock has no idea who this guy is or what the hell he's talking about, but since he just saved his life, he might as well listen to him. Shin asks him if he knows the legend of Yamoshi, which Bardock says, of course, every Saiyan knows the legend. Shin smiles and tells him that with his help, he can gain the powers of Yamoshi and defeat Frieza, but he needs to do it fast. Shin motions for Bardock's crew to gather around him, and that they need to hold hands and give Bardock all of their energy. The crew don't know how to feel about this, but Bardock just yells at them to do it, since Frieza will come back at any minute now. Toma, Fasha, Pumbaakin, Totapo, and Leek all join hands and give their energy to Bardock. Bardock is given all of their energy, and begins to rise up into the air, with a red aura surrounding him, and his hair turning the same shade of red. His muscles become slimmer, and the scenery around him changes. He's no longer floating in space, but is floating in a red void. Another entity materializes in front of Bardock, another Saiyan. The Saiyan introduces himself as Yamoshi, the original Super Saiyan God. Yamoshi tells Bardock that he is the only other Saiyan to have achieved this form, and that with this form, he'll be one of the gods themselves one day. For now though, he's going to have to use it to save his planet, though he'll do him a favor, and use his own godly powers to remove the Curse of Foresight from the Saiyan. Once that's complete, Yamoshi tells Bardock that he'll be watching him, and if he ever needs help in the future, he'll be there. The scenery changes once more, and Bardock floats back down. Shin smiles and tells Bardock that he is now the Super Saiyan God, and that with this power, he'll be able to defeat Frieza for good. Shin disappears right as Frieza launches back in, extremely angered, and throws a punch right at Bardock. Bardock effortlessly sidesteps this and backhands Frieza in the face, sending him flying away once again. Bardock follows him this time, and begins his counterattack against the evil Emperor. Frieza isn't able to fight back at all, and has no idea how the Saiyan got so powerful in an instant. He is able to escape from Bardock's grasp, and powers up into his final form, going 100% right from the start. Now of course, this does nothing at all. Every blow he lands on Bardock does nothing at all. Bardock continues to fight back, beating Frieza within an inch of his life, and he throws him up in the air, ready to defeat him once and for all. He fires a godly Buster Cannon right at Frieza, with Frieza being blown out of existence. Bardock sighs as the godly power leaves him and he reverts back to normal Super Saiyan. He looks at himself and realizes that he did it. Frieza is no more. Or so he thinks. As while Bardock may have defeated Frieza, he isn't dead yet. Meanwhile, on Beerus' planet, Whis notices that there is a new godly energy that's just emerged. He looks into his staff and notices that the Saiyan known as Bardock has become the Super Saiyan God, just as Yamoshi did all those years ago. He chuckles to himself as he knows that Shin must have had something to do with this. And while Beerus would be happy to know that there's another Super Saiyan God in the picture, Shin would be getting a severe talking to. He decides to hide out the existence of the Super Saiyan God from Beerus for now, which should be easy, since he doubts Bardock will be able to get the form again on his own anyways. And plus, he has another Saiyan on his planet who piqued Beerus' interest anyway, the young boy who is sent off to Vampa, who he retrieved to have him train under him, and maybe, just maybe, have this little boy be a potential candidate for the next God of Destruction. Gine's Saiyan pod makes its way back to planet Earth. She's really happy to be returning to the planet she loves after so many years, but it's not for a good reason. She really hopes that Bardock was able to get off the planet in time, and that he'll make his way here very soon. Gine crash lands down on the planet and slowly makes her way out of the pod with Goku in her arms. Instead of seeing the forest, she finds herself in the middle of the big city. There are many people staring at her, which kinda weirds her out. In front of her is a giant building called Capsule Corp, which sounds very familiar to her. As she walks some more, she eventually comes face to face with Dr. Briefs, who, even though he looks older, she can tell it's him. Dr. Briefs recognizes her instantly too, and the two hug, happy to see each other again. Dr. Briefs is more surprised by the little girl in her arms too, as the little girl he met years ago is now a mother. The civilians calm down once they realize this lady's with Dr. Briefs, as this must just be another experiment of his. Gine is invited into Capsule Corp, where she asks Briefs if 2 other pods landed around here, as she sent her other 2 sons here as well. Unfortunately, hers is the only pod that landed in the city. The other 2 may have landed somewhere else on the planet, but until they get a news report of them landing, there may not be a way to find them anytime soon. This really concerns Gine, and she asks if they can go back to Gohan's to see if they landed around there, since she tried to get the pods to land around that location. But clearly she's not very good with that technology. Briefs definitely will take her there to see Gohan, but he wants to introduce her to his family first. Gine meets with Panchi and their daughter, Bulma, who is only a few years older than Goku. While they all meet, Briefs gets a call from his other daughter, Tights, about an alien landing near them. This perks Gine up, as hopefully it's either Raditz or Kakarot. Gine and the Briefs family all head out towards the island Tights is on in hopes of getting her other children. While they head off, one of the Saiyan pods hasn't landed there, and has actually landed closer to Gohan's house, the pod of Raditz. Raditz steps out of the pod, seeing the blue sky of Earth, and feeling how light the gravity is here. As he flies up, he comes across a human in front of him holding some sort of weapon. The farmer is freaking out this little alien kid in front of him, so holds out his shotgun right at the kid, hoping he's not going to eat his brains or anything. Since Raditz feels threatened by the gun in his face, he holds out his hand ready to blast the guy away. The farmer shoots him right in the head, which stings him a little, as the farmer then begins to beat on him with his shotgun. Raditz is about to retaliate to kill the man, until a voice yells out for the two to stop. The old man walks up, looking at the young boy in wonder. He asks if he's by any chance a Saiyan from the planet Sadala. Raditz reveals that yes, he is. How does this Earthling know that? The old man smiles, revealing that his name is Gohan, and that he raised a little Saiyan girl on his planet some years ago. Raditz recognizes the name Gohan immediately as his mother's adopted father, with him telling Gohan that he's Gine's son. Gohan is very happy to hear that Gine made it back fine and even had some kids of her own. He asks Raditz to come along home with him so they can talk, with Raditz following behind as the farmer wonders what the hell just happened. Gine and the Brief family make it to an island to find this alien. Unfortunately for Gine, the alien isn't one of her sons, and even worse, it's a member of the Galactic Patrol. Jocko, the Galactic Patrolman, has been stuck on this planet for a few days now, waiting for the Saiyan pods he detected to arrive, that way he could arrest them. The Saiyans are a warrior race capable of extreme destruction, so he had to be sent here to arrest them before another planet is destroyed. Gine tries to tell Jaco that she's not that kind of Saiyan. She just sent her family here to escape the destruction of planet Sadala. All she wants is refuge. Jaco doesn't believe her, of course, and since it's just a Saiyan female, he should be able to handle her. Jaco lunges at Gine, attempting to take her in, but Gine is able to fight back and hold her own pretty well. She may not be much of a fighter, but she learned martial arts from Gohan years back. And with her natural Saiyan fighting evolution, she is a much better fighter than Jaco. Jaco is embarrassed that he's losing to the Saiyan, and goes to pull out his gun to blast her away, until Tights jumps in to stop him, beating on him herself since he just attacked this woman like that. She has her baby and family here now. She clearly isn't going to destroy the planet. After a pretty firm lecturing from Tights, Jaco doubles down, saying that he won't arrest her and she's allowed to stay on the planet. However, he'll make sure to come by every few years to make sure that her and her family aren't destroying anything. With everything come together, Dr. Briefs and Bulma help fix Jaco's ship so he can return to the Galactic Patrol. After they finish doing that, they all head off to Gohan's, where Gine has the long-awaited reunion with her adopted father. Gohan tells her that Raditz explained everything, and he's very sorry about her planet and her husband. Gine is really happy that they're all almost reunited, and asks if there's been another pod to come by here, as they still haven't found Kakarot. Gohan has only come across Raditz, so isn't very sure. So now Gine is very worried. Where could Kakarot be? Out in the field, a few soldiers have been deployed to go and track down a large explosion nearby. Once they show up, they find some weird kind of space pod. After examining it closer, they find a baby inside. The soldiers use a lift to take the pod out of the crater and lug it back to their base, where they show it to their commander, Commander Red of the Red Ribbon Army. Commander Red is concerned about the soldiers bringing back some sort of weird alien baby, and to really understand what it is, he brings it down to the crazy Red Ribbon scientist, Dr. Gero, and his wife, Vomi. That way they can do some tests on the baby to find out what exactly it is. After doing some tests on the child, Gero comes to the conclusion that this is a very strong baby from an alien race that has a very different biology from their own, as this child has the potential to be an extremely powerful asset to the army to crush all of the opposition that they have. Commander Red really likes the sound of this, with Vomi not a fan of all the tests Gero is doing on this child, so decides she's going to take care of it herself, to raise him into this new life and making sure he won't betray the army one day. And with her nurturing, this little boy is going to be very useful to the Red Ribbon Army. Back on Sadala, the remaining Saiyans are trying to get back into the swing of things with Frieza's defeat. They're all very respectful of Bardock, who is the actual Saiyan of legend, the legendary Super Saiyan. Bardock doesn't really feel that special, just that he was lucky enough to get a power boost. He's tried to access the powers of the Super Saiyan God in his time once more, but he hasn't been able to achieve the power again. He even tried to call it to Yamoshi, but he didn't answer him. He's been able to use the regular blonde-haired Super Saiyan form, but without any of that godly energy. Bardock wonders if he'll ever be able to access that power again. They want him to be the new king of the Saiyans, but it's not really his thing, especially since King Vegeta's wife, Queen Cassava, is still around, so she should just take over for her husband. He does do his best to warn everybody, though, that even with Frieza's defeat, they're not out of the clear yet. They still need to worry about his brother Cooler and their father, King Cold. They all need to do some training to prepare themselves for this upcoming war, and see if the rest of them can gain this Super Saiyan form as well. In space, King Cold had heard about his son being defeated by the Saiyans, and immediately rushed over to deal with them. While he was on his way there, he discovered the body of his son floating through space very close to death. Cold managed to recover him just in time and shock him to get him to transform into his final form. That way, he could recover a bit of himself. The transformation helped Frieza to not die, but he still can't regrow his missing body pieces, so the royal scientist worked extremely hard to rebuild him into Mecha Frieza. Frieza is revived and immediately is infuriated that he lost to a bunch of monkeys, and that the legend of the Super Saiyan was true. He tells his father that now that he's in his final form and improved his cybernetic enhancements, he can destroy those Saiyans in only one blow. King Cold tells him that he won't be going back to Sadala. He is extremely disappointed in him, that he would go to wipe out the Saiyans without even consulting with him first. His father planned to do the same thing, but he wasn't able to see the potential of these monkeys either. Now his own son doesn't see it. It was a mistake to make him the new ruler of the Empire, and while he killed his father for not seeing eye to eye with him, he won't kill his own son. So, we'll do the next best thing and banish him from the Empire. Frieza can't believe his father would do something like this to him, and attempts to argue back, but Cold isn't having it, and Frieza is banished from the Empire with only a new ship given to him. With Frieza's departure, Cold makes an announcement to the Empire to inform them that he is now once again the new ruler, after the Saiyans made a fool of his son. He will go to talk to them personally, but if any other races want to bully them around, to feel free. This transmission reached Guinea's pod at Capsule Corp, who is happy to hear that Frieza had been defeated, but now King Cold wants to go after the rest of the Saiyans. She guesses it's not going to be safe to go home anytime soon. The Saiyans picked up the transmission as well, and are very worried that King Cold is coming soon, as he's definitely going to want revenge for his son. Bardock has been training to get to Super Saiyan form easier, and has been training his squad to try and get it as well. While they're probably not gonna get it, he can get stronger and stronger with it, so hopefully he'll be more than enough to take out Cold. As the Saiyans are training for Cold's arrival, Frieza has been going out, wondering what he's going to do now. What will his life be without being a ruler? Nothing. He's not going to let his father treat him this way. He may be strong enough now to kill him himself, but then he'd have Cooler to deal with. With Cooler's new transformation he's achieved, he's not sure if he'd be able to kill him. He'll just have to gain that form himself. But how? As he's wondering, he picks up a transmission from a nearby planet. A transmission from Prince Vegeta and his brothers, Broly and Tarbell. More Saiyans. He should just kill them here to take his anger out on them. But he thinks about it some more. These kids shouldn't know that he tried to blow up their planet, so they'll most likely blindly follow him. If he can get them on his side, then he may be able to turn them against the other Saiyans, his father and Cooler. With them gone, he can regrow his empire and become the strongest in the universe once more. Frieza flies down to the young Saiyans and their caretaker Nappa, who are taken aback by how Lord Frieza looks right now. Frieza tells the young ones that he was betrayed by the Saiyan race. They attacked him from behind in an attempt to take over the empire. They were cowards attacking him from behind, and it cost many Saiyans their lives, even their fathers. He understands that their father was very controlling of their lives, sending them to all these planets constantly every day. Well, if they join with him, then he'll allow them to do anything they want, going to the planets they want to, training when they want to. They'll finally be free of their father's control, and able to live their own lives, as long as they always report back to him at the end of the day. The group find it funny that Frieza was hurt that bad by the Saiyans, but this offer is a really good one. Their father was always so strict, forcing them to be at places at very specific times, and if they missed a deadline, he would punish them with a beating. They're glad he's gone, and if they have a chance to live a more free life with Frieza, then they're gonna take it. Nappa and the three princes go along with Frieza, and now he has 4 Saiyans under his control. Doing some communications too, the Ginyu Force say that they are still loyal to Frieza, so we'll work with him outside of King Cold's knowledge for as long as they can. So, with the Ginyus and the Saiyan princes under his belt, it's time for Frieza to slowly build up his own empire, and one day, overthrow his brother and father. Eventually, King Cold and his forces arrive on Sadala, wanting to meet the Saiyans who defeated his son. Bardock and his crew step up to Cold to announce that it was them who killed him, and if they don't get off of their planet, then he'll be dead too. King Cold laughs, saying his son was an idiot for getting himself taken down. He won't be so stupid. Before he can finish his sentence, Super Saiyan Bardock has punched a hole right through the king's chest. Cold spits blood, not believing that this is happening. Bardock rips his arm out, smiling at the king, telling him he left himself wide open. King Cold backs away, realizing he's going to die. He was wrong. These Saiyans would become stronger than them one day and kill them all. He was wrong for killing his father and exiling his son. None of this would have happened if he had just listened. He tells Bardock that he may be done for, but Frieza is still alive out there, enhanced with mechanical upgrades, and he'll be the one to end them all. If not him, then his older son Cooler. The Frost Demon line won't end here. His sons will avenge him and wipe out every last one of the Saiyans. Cold then falls to the ground, dead. Bardock and the others can't believe that Frieza is alive. If Frieza's still alive out there and has actually been enhanced with cybernetics, then he'll be a lot more powerful than before. Even with the training that Bardock's done, he doesn't think that he'll be able to beat Frieza this time. And after they defeated Frieza, he hasn't been able to see into the future anymore, so they won't be able to rely on that for when Frieza eventually comes back. It would probably be best if they left the planet for now, as they won't all get wiped out if he can't find them. So, with that, all of the remaining Saiyans leave their homeworld behind. Bardock contemplated going to Earth, but if he goes there right now, then Gine and his children would be in grave danger. He'll go back to them once all is said and done, with Frieza and Cooler gone for good. On Earth, after weeks of waiting, Gine decides that they're not going to get any news on Kakarot's whereabouts by normal means. They need to find him now, and she thinks the only way they can do that is with the Dragon Balls. Thankfully, Dr. Brief still has his old Dragon Radar, so they can begin the journey whenever. Raditz and Goku will stay behind in West City, as her, Gohan, and Briefs go out once more on a hunt for the Dragon Balls. Once again, there's really nobody out looking for them besides the occasional mugger, so finding all of them isn't as hard as it usually is. It takes a few weeks, but eventually they find them all once more, and summon Shenron. Gine decides that now is the time to kill two birds with one stone. She's somehow lost two children in her time as a mother, both Jocha and Kakarot, so she asks for both of them to be returned to her. Shenron is silent for a moment, and says that that wish cannot be granted. The girl, called Jocha, is out in space with other beings like her, and their energies cloud his own, so he will not be able to bring her to Earth. This news makes Gine both sad, but happy at the same time. Jocha is thankfully still alive, and she's with other Saiyans as well. That makes her very happy to hear, and while she may not be here, she's at least still somewhere out there. As for Kakarot, he is currently in the care of the Red Ribbon Army, and the army has attached certain cybernetics to the young boy, which prevents him from being pulled away from the wish as well. However, he is also still alive. With Shenron granting Gine's question, he disappears, with Dr. Brief saying Kakarot is really in trouble if it is the Red Ribbon Army. They're a group of terrorists who've been terrorizing the world for years now. If they tried themselves to get Kakarot back, then there would be nothing they could do. Gine is heartbroken that she can't get her son back, with Gohan comforting her that maybe one day they can go for a rescue mission, but it's too dangerous right now. For now, she should return to her other children to help raise them into good people, as with their powers, they'll definitely be a big help in saving their brother. Gine wipes her tears from her eyes and thanks her father as the group return to West City. From here, we're gonna move into a little bit of a time skip. Over the years, Gine, Raditz, and Goku have stayed out in West City, with Gine being given a nice little apartment from Dr. Brief to raise her children in. Raditz and Goku are able to go to actual school in West City to become normal kids, but they have to hide their tails, that way they don't freak everybody out. On the weekends, Raditz and Gine go up to visit Gohan for some training sessions, and during these sessions, they would train up their normal bodies during the day, and then train in their grade 8 forms at night when there's a full moon. That way, they can get even stronger in those forms for when they needed to infiltrate the Red Ribbon to get Kakarot back. The training goes very well, and they're able to regain their senses into form and not kill Gohan in the process. While these guys were up there training, Goku would stay behind at Capsule Corp and hang out with Bulma. The two ladies pretty much grew up together, so are bonded like sisters. They work out on a multitude of machines, with Goku getting really good at building cars and motorbikes. Goku isn't just strong in the mind either, as she also goes to her karate classes Gine signed her up for. She's trained with Gohan a few times, but likes to train the karate classes more, since there are kids her age there. She makes really good friends with a young boy named Mark. Mark was a bumbling idiot, who was strong for sure, but not really that good at techniques or anything. Goku made sure to step in to help him out on honing in his technique, which was kind of embarrassing for Mark, having a girl help him out in martial arts. But after actually taking her advice, he realized she actually knew what she was talking about. Goku and Mark became pretty good friends and hung out some more after school at Capsule Corp with Bulma. Raditz would definitely tease Goku and hang out with the boy, but Goku makes it clear that she doesn't have those kinds of feelings about Mark, he's just a friend. One day, Bulma finds her dad's old Dragon Radar in a drawer, and when she realizes how outdated it is, she decides to fix it up some to get it to work better. After only spending around a half hour on the radar, it works a lot better than it did before, with her showing her progress to Goku and Mark when they come by. They all start talking about going out to find the Dragon Balls themselves, just like their parents did, with Bulma and Goku having to explain what they are to Mark. Dr. Brief says of course they can go out, as he thinks it'll be fun, with Gine saying yes too, but says that Raditz is gonna have to tag along to help protect them from any danger. None of them mind, especially Bulma, as she kinda has a crush on him for how stunning and handsome he appears to be. Raditz kinda has one on her too, but would never admit it. But hey, maybe this journey will finally be that chance. The group all pick a date to begin and head off on their hunt for the Dragon Balls. However, this time, our group isn't the only one looking for them. The Red Ribbon Army has been doing some research on these orbs as well, having picked up some intel on their existence ever since they got used under a decade ago by some unknown figures. Commander Red had Jiro create a scouter for them, and his isn't as good as Bulma's as he doesn't have direct access to the balls, but it still works fine. Of course, this won't be that easy of a journey, so Commander Red decides to send some of his best men to do the job. First is Jiro's own soldier son, Jevo, and then Vomi's adopted son, Prototype Zero, codenamed Jasper. Jasper has gotten some modifications done to his body from Jiro, making him part cyborg and an even more effective killer. He's basically this universe's Winter Soldier, even though he's only a child. He doesn't have much of a personality, as his only objectives in life are to kill who he needs to kill. Though, he does have a soft spot for the woman who raised him, and his adopted brother Jevo, so the two going out to find the Dragon Balls together is a perfect pairing. Jasper has never failed Red yet, so he promises he won't fail him this time. Jasper and Jevo head out on their mission to gather the Dragon Balls themselves. That way, the Red Ribbon Army can rule the world. Elsewhere, near Grandpa Gohan's house, there is a blinding flash of light, with some sort of machine appearing out of nowhere. The machine lands on some nearby mountains, with the cockpit opening and a man flying out of it. Trunks jumps out and breathes a sigh of relief. This area looks so peaceful. There's no way this is the era they've come from. They've made it to the past. Ranch flies out of the ship after him, saying she doesn't sense any large energies nearby. That means he's not here, and that everybody else must be suppressing their energy. Trunks agrees, and says they should fly off to her dad and Goku's place, as that must be where they are at this point in time. Ranch agrees, though she is nervous about seeing her father and uncle after all this time. Trunks tells her they'll be fine. They just need to warn them about what's going to happen, and hope that the terrible future they come from won't happen here. The two put the time machine back into its capsule and fly off towards Gohan's house. Our group of Bulma, Raditz, Goku, and Mark meet up at Grandpa Gohan's house to grab his Dragon Ball. They explain to him that they're all going out on their own hunt for the Dragon Balls, which Gohan is happy to hear, as these kids deserve to have their own fun adventure. He gives them his 4-star Dragon Ball, with the kids thanking him and are all about to head off. However, Raditz senses that somebody is coming and tells the group to stay on guard. Trunks and Ranch land in front of them, with the two being confused out of their minds. Ranch steps forward, eyeing Raditz, looking a mixture between angry and confused, with Trunks eyeing Bulma the same way. Raditz doesn't like the way these guys are looking at him and Bulma, and asks them what it is that they want and how they flew over here, since not many Earthlings that he met can fly. The pair don't say anything. They seem to be frozen in fear, until Ranch turns to Trunks and asks him what the hell happened. The two begin to bicker for a bit, with Raditz getting annoyed that they're not answering his question. He walks over to the two, who stop immediately once they see him approaching. They look at each other and say that they're employees of Capsule Corp and were sent here to look after them. Bulma and Goku don't buy it, as Trunks may have that logo on his chest, but they've never seen them before. Who are they really? Raditz, Goku, and Mark get into a fighting position, with Ranch telling them they really don't want to do that. This irks Raditz even more, as he goes to attack Ranch. Ranch dodges all of Raditz's hits, moving around so elegantly that it seems like she's not even trying. Raditz tries to swing faster, but it's no use. She's way too fast for him. Goku and Mark come in to try and help him, but it's just the same thing, with her moving around and dodging. Eventually, Raditz launches a double sundae at her, with her catching it easily and throwing it up in the air. Raditz stumbles back in awe. His most powerful attack was thrown away that easily? How was that possible? Ranch sighs and looks at Trunks, with him sighing as well. They have to tell them the truth. Trunks steps forward, telling the group they don't mean any harm. They're here from the future, to warn the group about a terrible fate they'll meet. This shuts them all up, until Bulma and Mark begin to laugh. They're from the future? Yeah, right. Bulma goes up to Trunks, saying this whole prank isn't funny at all, and to cut it out with this future nonsense. He better get him and his prissy girlfriend out of here right now. Ranch glares at her after hearing prissy. She asks if she wants proof that they're from the future. She'll give her proof right now. Raunch powers up, screaming out, shaking to land around them. Trunks says this really isn't a good idea, but he can't stop her now. Raunch explodes in her own golden glow, transforming into a Super Saiyan. Everybody was blown back by the sheer pressure of the transformation, with Raditz looking on in wonder. This power, this form, could this be the legendary Super Saiyan? Raunch looks at Raditz, saying that yes, this is the power of the Super Saiyan, and where they come from, the form isn't so legendary. Trunks and their master can transform too, but it's still not enough. Trunks powers up as well, becoming a Super Saiyan to show that she's not lying. Where they come from, there's a great evil out there that goes and kills many heroes of this planet, and they are some of the only survivors. However, with their time machine, now they can come back in time and hope to prevent this terrible future from coming to pass. The two revert back to normal, with Raditz and Goku believing them completely now. They've heard tales of the Super Saiyan before, with Gine believing that Bardock must have become it to defeat Frieza and save their race, but they've never seen it in the flesh before, and its power is amazing. Trunks kneels down and asks if she happens to be Goku. Goku swallows nervously and says that yes, she is. Trunks looks up at Raunch, nervous, with her not understanding it either. Trunks pulls out a vial from his pocket and hands it to her. He says that in the future, she'll be a great warrior and will be a giant help to the warriors of the future to help keep them safe. If she takes this medication when her heart starts to hurt, then she'll be able to stay alive to help. Goku takes the medication and looks at it, worried about why they'd need to give this to her. Raditz asks who this person is that destroyed humanity. That way, they know to be careful of them. Raunch says that she doesn't want to give too much away, but they're part of the Red Ribbon Army, so to be very careful of them. Gohan is shocked to hear the Red Ribbon Army's name. Those are the villains who captured Kakarot and have been holding on to him for years. Kakarot? Raunch is confused. Kakarot? That's what her father called her uncle. What? She now asks who Kakarot is, with Gohan saying he's Goku and Raditz's brother, who has been captured by them ever since they came to this planet, and they've spent these years training to find a way to get him back. The two look stunned, and move back to talk to each other some more. As the two are talking, Kakarot and Javo arrive at their destination, the Kame House. Jasper tells Javo to be careful of this one. He's done research, and found that he's apparently one of the strongest men on the planet, so not to take him lightly. Roshi steps out of the house, asking how these two got on the island, and what they're doing interrupting his exercise videos. Javo tells him that they're here on behalf of the Red Ribbon Army, and believe that he's in possession of a Dragon Ball, which rightfully belongs to them. Roshi's heard of the Red Ribbon Army, and knows they're bad news, so says he's not handing over anything to them. Javo pulls out a gun, saying he won't ask again. Roshi just laughs as Javo shoots. Roshi catches the bullets, and then goes to knock the gun out of Javo's hands. Jasper steps in the way, catching Roshi's attack. Roshi is shocked this little kid stopped him like that, and is even more surprised when he's punched in the face, flying through his house. Jasper tells Javo to stand back, he'll handle this one. Roshi bursts out, kneeing Jasper in the jaw, with him reeling around for a kick to the face. Roshi is able to block this thankfully, and the rest of the punches Jasper is hammering in on him. This boy's power is enormous. The Red Ribbon is a lot more dangerous than he thought. Jasper drops and throws sand in Roshi's eyes to blind him, as he then pounces and beats him while he's down. Roshi headbutts him away and launches with a kick to the gut. As Jasper sits up, Roshi appears behind him and double chops his neck, with him falling to the ground. Roshi breathes heavily and turns to Javo, saying he won't wake up for some days now, so to take him and get the hell off of his island. Javo tells him that he may be powerful, but Prototype Zero here is one of the most effective killers he's ever seen. He won't be taken out that easily. Roshi looks back at Jasper as he fires a large beam out of his mouth. Roshi barely dodges it, as Jasper then lunges at him and begins to beat on him some more. Roshi fights back the best he can, but the ferocity of this boy is too much. He beefs himself up to push him back, and launches his most powerful attack, the Kamehameha at the boy. Jasper narrowly avoids the attack, with it firing off the sea coast. Roshi reverts to normal size, breathing heavily. He knows he didn't get him, and looks around for where he could be. Two hands launch out of the sand underneath him, grabbing his feet and dragging him under. Jasper then launches out of the sand and into the air, clasping his hands together and charging his own Kamehameha. He launches the attack right where Roshi was, with the attack wasting the island. Chevaux is blown out to sea, but thankfully able to swim back to what's left of the island. Jasper's an extremely skilled warrior who learns as he fights, so seeing a giant energy wave is something that he was able to copy with no problems. Kamehouse is gone, and all that's left is a small little pile of sand. Roshi's battered body is lying in the sand, motionless. Jasper rips the Dragon Ball off of his necklace and places his fingers on Roshi's neck to check for a pulse. Nothing. He's dead. Jasper walks over to Chevaux, telling him they've now got 2 out of 7, but he suffered some damage from the battle and needs to return to Gero for repairs. Chevaux understands, and the two hop back in their boat to return to the Red Ribbon headquarters. Trunks and Ranch have discussed what the hell is happening. They've ended up in a weird alternate timeline where Raditz came to Earth early, Goku is a girl, Kakarot is a separate person and is controlled by the Red Ribbon Army. Did them going back in time really mess this all up? Well, they need to find a way to save Kakarot from the army now, since if he stays with them, then he may turn into an android as well, or they could use his DNA to make many different hybrid-like Saiyan androids. They need to stick around here for a little bit to make sure that they free him. Ranch thinks that's a bad idea, as number 1, they went too far back in time already, number 2, this timeline is very different from their own, and number 3, they could mess things up way worse than they already are if they stay here. Trunks tells her that the whole mess with the Red Ribbon can be avoided if they go and stop them with these guys. Now that they're so far back in time, the Red Ribbon has nowhere near the power to do any damage to them or to get data on their powers. If they kill Gero now, then they won't need to worry about a terrible future happening. Ranch eventually complies and says that they can stay here to defeat the Red Ribbon. Problem is, they don't know where their base is. But maybe if they journey with these guys, they can use the Dragon Balls to find them. They agree to go along with the group, with Raditz and Goku very happy, as they want to know more about these 2 Super Saiyans. The group leave Grandpa Gohan's in search of the remaining Dragon Balls, with Ranch weirded out having to travel with Raditz, who is around her age and maybe younger now. It's so weird. As they go out, they find the turtle, and promise to return him to his home, and once they do, they are terrified to see what's become of this place. The whole island is torn apart, and there's a single body left nearly buried. Trunks and Ranch instantly recognize him as Roshi, and wonder what the hell happened to him. He's not breathing, so Trunks puts his hand on his chest and tries to pump him full of ki to bring him back. Surprisingly, this works, with his heart beginning to beat once again. Trunks picks him up and bursts off as fast as he can to a hospital to save the old man's life. Raditz and Goku know the name Roshi, as Gohan talked about him quite a bit over the years as his master. Who would be able to defeat Gohan's master? Trunks flies back eventually, telling them that Roshi is in surgery right now, but when he asked who did this to him, he muttered, "The Red Ribbon," meaning they've already begun to strike. Trunks is shaking with anger, and Ranch does her best to calm him down, as he'll destroy the rest of the island if he transforms. More determined than ever now, Trunks says they need to find the Dragon Balls, that way they can prevent the terrible future from coming. They fly off and find a few Dragon Balls in different parts of the planet. Not exactly where they were in the canon events, since the Dragon Balls have been used more than they were in canon, so they'd be in different areas. Eventually, they come across an area where there is still a Dragon Ball, and that's Fire Mountain. As they try and figure a way to get the Dragon Ball out, they meet up with the Ox King, who Goku and Raditz have heard stories about from Gohan too. Once they tell him this, he instantly does a 180 and becomes best pals with them. They still find Chi-Chi pretty easily, though the girl does get pretty close to Raditz trying to be all flirty. But she's a little too young for him, and plus he's gotten pretty close with Bulma. Trunks and Ranch are screaming internally right now, since his mom and her dad are flirty with each other. They need to find a way to make them stop acting this way, and also have Chi-Chi get with Goku so Gohan can be born. Of course, the Goku they have here is a girl, so obviously Gohan can't be born that way, but if she meets the male Kakarot they have here, maybe they can get together. Once Trunks blasts a mountain apart with his burning attack, this interests Chi-Chi enough to want to go with the group, which is thankfully what he and Ranch wanted. Ox King is fine with Chi-Chi coming along with them, just as long as she stays safe. But seeing the power of these two, he's sure she'll be fine. Meanwhile, at the Red Ribbon HQ, Jasper has recovered from his battle with Roshi and is prepared to go out with Javot to gather the rest of the Dragon Balls. Red begins to yell at him though, since while he was lounging around here, there's been a group who has gathered the rest of the Dragon Balls and will be making their way here. Jasper tells him it's no problem, he was able to deal with the world's strongest with no problem, so these clowns with the Dragon Balls won't be an issue. Him and Javot then go off to deal with this threat, until they're stopped by a weird gang. The Pilaf gang and some weird girl stop them in their tracks, saying they're here for the Dragon Ball, and that they've hired the world's greatest thief, Launch, so if they try anything at all, they're dead. Launch sticks out her gun towards the two, telling them to empty their pockets now. Javot sticks his hands up and begins to laugh. Launch is about to ask what's so funny, as Jasper appears in front of her, knocks the gun out of her hand, and kicks her into the rocks. Pilaf and the others scream and then deploy their mechs to protect themselves. These mechs aren't a challenge to Jasper, as he pretty easily destroys them. The Pilaf gang are pretty badly injured here, as Javot steps up and puts a gun to Mai's head, asking if they're the ones who've been gathering the Dragon Balls. Mai pleads that they haven't been, and that they're very sorry for trying to mug them. Javot says sorry isn't gonna cut it, and is about to pull the trigger when Ranch grabs his arm and breaks it. Javot screams out as Jasper jumps in front of him to protect him. The group can't believe their eyes. This kid looks just like Goku. Of course, Raditz and Goku walk up to him, asking if it's really Kakarot, their long-lost brother. Jasper has no idea what they're talking about. He has no family except for Vomi. Vomi? Trunks thinks that name sounds familiar. Was that the lady who worked at Capsule Corp a few years ago? Nah, couldn't have been. Goku stomps up to him though, saying he's worried Mom's sick for all these years, and now he's coming back with them. Jasper steps back, telling them he's not going anywhere, and if she doesn't back off from him now, her mom won't have anybody coming home. Goku explodes in anger, rushing Jasper, as he dodges all of her attacks. She is fast, but with his cybernetic enhancements, he's a lot faster. Though, Goku puts their hands together and launches a burning attack right at Jasper, which blows him back. Trunks is impressed with her learning this technique so fast, but Launch tries to tell him they can't just sit here and watch this. While they're fighting here, they should go off to the Red Ribbon Army now and find Gero, since it's clearly right behind them. Trunks agrees and the two blast off behind them to the Red Ribbon base. Jasper recognizes where they're going and tries to follow, but Raditz punches him away, saying that he's staying here and to stop resisting. Jasper picks him up and throws him into the ground as he launches a Kamehameha at Goku. Goku is hit dead on by the attack and blown back into the rocks as well. Raditz screams out as he and Jasper clash blow for blow. How is his little brother this much stronger now? What did this army do to him? Mark and Bulma go over to check on Goku, who is pretty badly injured, but can still stand. She tells them they need to call her mom to get her here, as maybe she can talk some sense into him. She'll keep holding him off with Raditz. As the three siblings fight it out, Trunks and Ranch burst into the Red Ribbon headquarters, asking, where is Gero? The soldiers immediately open fire on the two, with the bullets just bouncing off of them. The soldiers step back in fear, as Ranch sticks out her hand, ready to fire, asking once more, where is Gero? The soldiers drop their weapons immediately and point towards Commander Red's tower, as he'll know where he is. The two thank the soldiers and burst into Red's tower. Trunks lifts them off of the ground and asks where they can find Gero. Officer Black bursts into the room with his battle jacket, attempting to best the intruders, but Ranch just flicks the machine, sending it flying right out of the tower. Destroyed. Red, not wanting to die, leads the two into Gero's lab, where him and Vomi have been hiding out. The two time travelers glare at Gero, saying that his androids need to be stopped. Gero wonders how the hell these two know about his android creations, unless he came across Prototype Zero out there. They tell him that they know what his creations become, beings of pure destruction that will annihilate this world. And in this time, he's even corrupted Kakarot of all people. For all of his sins, they're going to end him. Vomi steps in front of Gero, saying that he is a bad man, but doesn't deserve to die. Without him, Jasper wouldn't have survived out there. His android creations are a blessing and haven't done any other destruction that they know of. Ranch tells Vomi to step aside. They have no issues with her, it's Gero they want. Plus, they owe her for being the one to take care of Kakarot for all these years. Ranch grabs Vomi and Red, flying them out of the lab, as Trunks bursts into a Super Saiyan and blows the entire lab into smithereens, Gero included. Vomi begins to sob as she watches the lab go up in flames, with Ranch looking at her and wondering, did they just do the right thing? Red is dropped back at the army, while Vomi is brought back to the battlefield. Raditz, Goku, and Mark are beaten down bad. Jasper is a lot more powerful than any of them realized, and even with the power that Raditz has achieved, it wasn't enough, and his cyborg brother has somehow bested him. Goku and Mark are unconscious, with Raditz being the last man standing, but barely able to. This is when Gine flies down, looking at her boy and sobbing. Bulma thankfully was able to call her, with her getting here as fast as she could. She runs over to hug Kakarot, with him pushing her away. Gine stops, asking why he's doing this. She's his mother. Jasper looks at her and begins to hold on to his head. This woman does seem very familiar, but she can't be his mother. He has a mother. Ranch flies down with Vomi, and Jasper runs over to her, telling Gine that this is his mother. Vomi and Gine lock eyes, with Gine beginning to cry. She's been away from him for so many years that he managed to find a new mother. She should have found him much sooner. Now, he's gone from her. Vomi watches Gine break down and feels her pain. Her son was taken away from her too. Chavo was turned into a Red Ribbon soldier because of Jiro, and she was left only to pick up the pieces of his mistakes. She's not going to let the Red Ribbon rip another family apart. Jiro is gone now, and maybe that's a blessing. She takes Jasper's hand, and they walk over to Gine. Vomi tells Jasper that Jiro is dead. All of the torture he's been put through is done now. They can live their own lives, and he should come to live with his biological mother. Jasper doesn't know how to feel about this. His whole life, he's been tortured by Jiro and Red, constantly being experimented on, constantly being forced to kill all of the enemies of the Red Ribbon. Now, they can't harm him anymore, and he has a chance to live a normal life? He's not entirely sure if he'll be able to live a life like that. Vomi tells him that she'll be with him every step of the way. She knows how big of a change this will be for him, but with the Red Ribbon behind them, they'll be able to live a safe, happy life. Raditz walks up to his brother, putting his hand on his shoulder, telling him there's no hard feelings. They have a lot more in common than they think. Jasper just wants to be away from all the pain and suffering, so agrees to go along with the others. Gine hugs Jasper, crying into his arms, and she tells Vomi, "Thank you." Trunks lands behind Ranch, looking at the scene in front of them. Ranch turns to Trunks, saying that she wasn't sure if they did the right thing in killing Jiro, but now that they did, Kakarot is back with his family. With him back and Jiro dead, maybe they've changed their future for the better, as now there won't be any androids to harm them. Trunks says he hopes that things have turned out for the better here, and they should probably go now before things change anymore. The two burst off back to Mount Paozu and take the time machine out of the capsule. They prepare to return back to the future, with Ranch asking him why things were so different in this timeline. Trunks admits he has no idea. Maybe them just traveling through time caused a giant distortion and things got all out of whack. Hopefully, when they return to the future, Gohan, Banchuri, Bulma, and Mai are all still there. As the time machine starts up, it begins to glow with weird electric red energy and violently fly all around. Ranch and Trunks wonder what is happening, since this isn't how the machine is supposed to act. Trunks presses a bunch of buttons to try and calm the machine down, but nothing's working. The two scream out as the time machine violently disappears. Back with the group, they've given up searching for the Dragon Balls now, as they've run into something a bit more important with Kakarot. Launch and the Pilaf gang have run off to parts unknown, with Chavo escaping off as well. Bulma noticed that Trunks and Ranch disappeared and is kinda worried. Them being here must have changed their future in some way. If they change the future, does that mean that they now cease to exist? She hopes not, and hopes that they'll meet again someday. The group returned to West City to get Kakarot and Vomi used to the big city. Goku, Chi-Chi, Mark, and Raditz hang with Kakarot as he apologizes for attacking them like that, as it was only a part of his programming. Of course, there are no hard feelings, and Goku and Raditz are just really happy to finally meet their brother. Chi-Chi kinda falls for the bad boy, telling him he was really strong, and she'll especially do her best to get him used to a new life. Speaking of a new life, Bulma and Raditz got very close over their adventure, with her finding it sweet that he stuck up for all of them and helped against the future kids, and getting his brother back. Since they've gotten so close, Bulma and Raditz actually start dating. Kakarot goes to visit the hospital as well to apologize to Roshi for almost killing him. Roshi, of course, almost has a heart attack when he sees the boy, but since he came with Gohan and Gine, he knows that everything should be fine now. Eventually, once Roshi recovers, he says that the boy can make it up to him by rebuilding his home, and staying with him for a bit to help him recover from his injuries. This is fair to everybody, but of course, Goku, Chi-Chi, and Mark would want to come along too to stay with Kakarot. The more help, the merrier, Roshi thinks, and once he's able to return home, the kids go with him to his island to build him a new home and help him recover. Roshi begins to take a liking to these kids, and of course notices Goku and Mark sparring every now and then, so decides why not train these kids himself, as they have a lot to learn. Goku and Mark do realize that they need to train seriously, since Kakarot wiped the floor with the two of them, so honing in their techniques will definitely help them improve in the future. Chi-Chi, of course, wants to train as well, and there's a young monk who showed up too, named Krillin. All the kids begin their training on the Roshi, with Krillin being a nuisance to everybody. He keeps being sexist towards Goku and Chi-Chi, and attempting to show off how cool he was compared to Kakarot and Mark. Nobody liked Krillin, and after everybody kept complaining about him, Roshi decided that this random kid coming here wasn't worth it, and he is kicked out. Krillin is insanely angry that he was kicked out from the Kame house, and vows revenge against these people, going to find training elsewhere. With Krillin gone, training can really amp up for everybody here, with Roshi thinking that if things keep going the way that they're going for everybody, then they may be good enough to compete in the upcoming World Martial Arts Tournament. The remaining Saiyans of planet Vegeta have migrated to another planet, hoping to save themselves from the remaining Frost Demons. It has been quite a few years since the defeat of King Cold, with the Saiyan who defeated him, Bardock, training every day in case the Frost Demons arrive. He's contemplated going out to bring his children back home to him, though he knows that if he brings them here, they're in grave danger if Frieza ever finds them. Plus, he's not too sure if they'll be strong enough to even help. It's better if they stay on Earth with Gine to grow stronger there. What these guys need right now is to try and bring the Saiyan princes back to them. They're not quite sure how the princes ended up in Frieza's care, but Vegeta, Tarbell, and Broly have been working under him for these past few years, taking over many planets and turning them into new Frieza planets. Queen Cassava has been wanting her children back very badly, as her sons being forced to work under Frieza is a disgrace to the Saiyan name, and has been begging Bardock to get them back. He's been putting it off for some years now since he wanted to get stronger in his Super Saiyan form first, and now that he thinks he's reached the peak of his power, he decides now is the time to get the princes to join them. Bardock gathers up his squad and journeys out to the last known location where Saiyans happen to be located by their intel. It takes a few days to get to the planet, and once they do, the crew steps out and lowers their battle power, that way the others can't detect them. While surveying the planet, they discover that the planet seems to be dying. The world is decaying all around them at a rapid rate, which worries them greatly. Has Frieza come up with another way of destroying planets? They eventually discovered a source of the planet's decay, a gigantic tree in the middle of the planet, sapping the world of its energy. The Saiyans are confused, as how is this tree able to take up so much power? From behind the tree, 7 figures step out, Turles and his Crusher Core. Bardock is shocked to see other Saiyans, as he thought most of them were killed by Frieza years ago. He is also shocked to see a Saiyan next to Turles that looks very familiar. Jocha is surprised to see the man in front of her as well. This man, it's her father. Jocha jumps down out from the others and lands in front of her father, punching him right in the arm, smiling, asking what took him so long to find her. Bardock smiles and punches her back, saying he got a little busy defeating Frieza, but he's happy that she's still alive and that they finally found each other again. She introduces Bardock and the crew to the Crusher Corps, with Turles saying that Bardock was a huge inspiration to him when he was little, and he even modeled his hair after him if he couldn't tell. Bardock tells him that he's flattered and asks what they're doing here and if they work for Frieza. Turles explains that him and Jocha were sent out with a group of Saiyans when they were young by King Vegeta. The two were left abandoned by the other Saiyans they were sent with, and the two tried to escape the planet together, but were lost. They were eventually found by the remains of the Heaters, Maki and Oil. The two were terrified at first to see what looked like a young Bardock and Gine, but they eventually were able to convince them to let them on board. Maki and Oil had been lying about the fact that Alec and Gas were dead, and had been trying to run the Heater scene for a few years now. But the other aliens they were trading with began to get suspicious, so they've been on the run. Turles and Jocha were able to convince them to stick around and become the bargainers for the other aliens due to their strength, and become honorary Heaters in return. Since Maki and Oil had no other option, they let the two join. So, Turles and Jocha joined the Heaters and began to overtake plans with them. and even managed to discover the Tree of Might, and help take over planets that way as well. Bardock is happy to hear that his daughter overtook the Heaters, and that her mother would be proud of making them a better name than the original Heater cowards they fought years back. Bardock explains the situation of what's been going on to them, and from here, things will line up with how they did in the original part, but just imagine that JoJo's there in the background. With the intel that Turles is able to get from the Heaters, they're able to find that the princes are on a nearby planet. Bardock's crew and Turles' crew go out to meet with them, encountering them in a tavern. Vegeta is shocked to see Bardock, asking him how he's still alive. Bardock tells him they've been hiding from Frieza and his men for these past few years, and that they're going to need them to come back to them, and abandon Frieza. Vegeta laughs, calling him a disgrace to the Saiyans for having to hide out. Him and his brothers went to Frieza directly, and under him have become stronger than ever. They can continue to hide out for all he cares, but under Frieza, he'll be better than these low-class trash will ever be. Bardock decides to shut the prince up by transforming into a Super Saiyan, blowing almost everybody in the bar back. Vegeta is indeed shocked at seeing Bardock being able to use this form himself, saying he didn't expect a low-class warrior to access this form as well. Bardock is confused. As well, what does that mean? Vegeta stands up and transforms into a Super Saiyan as well. Bardock is the one surprised by this. How is that possible? He thought he was the only one who could transform into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta laughs after seeing the expression on his face. His brother, Broly, is the legendary Super Saiyan, and after training with him for years and training with Frieza as well, he was able to access this power for himself, and become one of the first Super Saiyans. Now, if he doesn't want to die today, then he suggests he get out of the tavern. Bardock isn't taking no for an answer and rushes Vegeta, trying to get him to join them by force. Turles, Tarble, and Broly watch as the two battle it out, with Broly itching to join the fight. Tarble tells him to stand down though, as if he gets too worked up, then the whole planet could be destroyed. The two Super Saiyans battle it out, with Vegeta being put on the back foot to his surprise. Vegeta has only had access to this form for a brief amount of time, as Bardock has had years to perfect the form to the best of his ability, making him used to all of its drawbacks. Vegeta may have been able to talk a good game, but when it comes to raw power, Bardock has him severely outclassed. Bardock slams Vegeta down to the roof of the bar, reverting Vegeta back into his base. Bardock tells Vegeta he's outclassed, and if he comes with them, he can gain enough power to take down Frieza himself. Vegeta laughs, saying he just doesn't get it. He may have amazing power, but it's nothing to Frieza. He'd kill him with just one blow, especially since through their battle, he was able to tell Broly could do the same. Vegeta gives Broly the signal, and Broly erupts into his legendary Super Saiyan form. The bar is completely destroyed with his power, and Broly begins to beat the absolute crap out of Bardock. Bardock is barely able to fight back, as the legendary Super Saiyan's hits are too fast and furious for him to counter. He's actually going to die. Turles can't allow this to happen, so he pulls out a fruit from the Tree of Might, eating it and exploding in his own power. Turles rushes in to hit Broly with a surprise attack, knocking him off of his balance enough so he can take Bardock and rush away. Broly takes off at top speed after them, almost catching up, but Turles takes out another fruit, eats it as fast as he can, and bursts off even faster thanks to the boost, zigzagging fast enough to lose Broly, who, thankfully, can't sense energy. The Saiyans then take off from the planet before they're found. Right as they escape, they see the planet behind them blown to smithereens. It seems Broly's rage got the better of him, and he blew up the planet, trying to kill them for good. Turles knows that won't be the last they see of those Saiyans, however. When the group returns to the new Saiyan planet, Bardock breaks the news to Cassava that Vegeta and Broly are now Super Saiyans as well, and are fully under Frieza's control. If they want to defeat Frieza, then they'll have to kill her kids to do it. Cassava is disgusted with her sons for their betrayal, and is fine with them having to die if it means Frieza will die as well. Bardock thanks Turles for saving him, and offers him a place to stay on this planet. Turles appreciates the offer, but has to get back to the Heaters sooner or later, or he'll be branded as a traitor as well. He'll make sure to keep in touch though, and if the great Bardock ever needs anything again, to make sure to call. Turles and the Crusher Corps take off, with Bardock wondering how they're going to defeat Frieza now. On Earth, the kids have been training under Master Roshi for the Tenkaichi Budokai, or the World Martial Arts Tournament. Everybody has gotten a lot stronger, including Kakarot. He was already stronger than pretty much everybody here, but due to his training, he was able to become more skilled as well, which buffed up his already insane potential. Goku, Chi-Chi, and Mark have excelled into Kakarot's league too, which has given him better training partners and actual friends. He still finds it so weird to be a normal kid after being nothing but a weapon for all these years. He enjoys bonding with his sister, though there is just a part of him that feels like this isn't what he's meant for. He shakes off the feeling, but he knows he won't be a family kid forever. Back in West City, Raditz and Bulma have been doing fine in their relationship together, though Bulma has gotten pretty jealous over the new girl that Raditz has been teaching lately, Launch. He managed to save her from a bank robbery gone wrong, and for some reason, she latched onto him and wanted to train. Bulma senses that this girl has some ulterior motives, but can't quite place her finger on it. The jealousy of him training another girl makes her want to train too, but she knows she's not much of a fighter. Training is indeed interesting to her, but she's not down with just doing it herself. If she wants to be a fighter, she'll do it her own way, with her smarts. She designed some ideas for battle armor, an armor that would be able to keep up with Raditz. The armor can protect her from bullets, and if she makes it advanced enough, then it can protect her from energy blasts that Kakarot can produce too. Ever since the Red Ribbon Army was disbanded after Jiro was killed, Capsule Corp has been able to get some more of their tech lately. So, Bulma has been able to get her hands on some of the technology that Jiro used to make his robotic creations. She only starts off with some basic designs, rocket gloves and rocket boots. And to her surprise, she's able to use the gloves to fire energy blasts of her own. With this new technology, she channels these blasts into her rocket boot so she can fly for a long period of time with them. She's proud of her creations so far, but still knows she can't fight with just gloves and boots. So, when she has time, she'll do her best to make the rest of the armor so she can prove to Raditz how skilled she is. She won't be able to continue now, since the World Tournament is up, and her, Raditz, and Launch head out to support Goku and Kakarot. Raditz wasn't originally planning on competing in the tournament, but decides why not, since maybe he'll be able to fight with his brother once more, and they can see who is truly the strongest. Launch follows after him in joining too, since she's gotten stronger through training, so might as well see what she can do. This makes Bulma even madder, and she vows that she'll have that armor completed by the next tournament so she can prove to Raditz that she's better. The squad is able to move on through the preliminary matches pretty easily, with pretty much everybody making it into the qualifying rounds. Launch wasn't able to make it in, unfortunately, though she knows that if she was in her blonde form, then she would have made it. She could have made herself sneeze, but didn't want to scare Raditz by showing him her other personality already. Though, there are 3 other opponents who made it in too. 2 of them they've never seen before, an old man named Jackie Chun and a desert bandit named Yamcha. Yamcha seems kinda nice, but harsh, and he does his best to stay away from all the women around for some reason, while Jackie is the complete opposite. The third one though, they do recognize. Krillin. Krillin comes up to mock the group once more that while they were off training with that loser Roshi, he went off and found an even better master, Master Shen of the Crane School. He learned much more with him than he ever would have with Roshi, and can now even fly. Krillin flies around the room attempting to intimidate the others. That is until Goku and Kakarot fly off of the ground too, saying flying isn't that hard. Krillin goes red with anger, telling them it doesn't matter. With his new abilities, he's gonna kick their butts. He flies off angrily as the announcer begins saying who's gonna fight who. The matches are decided, with it being Match 1, Raditz vs Krillin, Match 2, Goku vs Yamcha, Match 3, Chi-Chi vs Mark, and finally, Match 4, Kakarot vs Jackie Chun. The first match begins with Raditz facing off against Krillin. Raditz is kind of amused as this bald human really thinks he stands a chance against him. Well, he's in for a surprise. Krillin can tell that this guy is really strong, so is able to use his flight and small size to dodge out of the way of Raditz's attacks. Raditz begins to get really annoyed that he can't hit this little punk, and decides not to hold back as much so we can get him out of the ring. Because of his annoyance, Raditz is getting sloppy, which is exactly what Krillin was hoping for. Krillin is able to sneak in behind him and grab Raditz's tail as hard as he can. Raditz freezes up instantly and falls over in pain. The others look on in horror as Krillin is laughing maniacally. He squeezes Raditz's tail some more and then throws him right out of the ring to everybody's surprise. Krillin has won. Goku asks him how he knew that the tail is their weak point. with him saying that when they were training together, he noticed Mark hit Goku's tail once and she almost passed out. He then figured these freaks should all have the same weakness, and he was correct. Raditz is embarrassed that he lost so easily, with Bulma doing her best to comfort him. Goku steps into the ring next, eager to win her match so she can defeat Krillin and avenge her brother. Yamcha and Goku get ready to duke it out, with Goku outmatching Yamcha at almost every turn. The bandit is impressed with his little girl's power, and uses his most powerful attack, the Wolf Fang Fist, on her. Goku didn't expect Yamcha's speed to increase that much with the attack, and she is rocked by the hit. Goku goes flying back, and as Yamcha rushes towards her, she blasts a burning attack straight at him, blowing him right out of the ring. Yamcha is surprised at the power in that attack, and disappointed he didn't see it coming. Goku comes over to help him back on his feet though, thanking him for the good fight. Yamcha smiles back, happy that this girl is so nice to him. After that match, we have Chi-Chi versus Mark. The two bow to each other and begin the fight. The two are pretty evenly matched, trading blows and neither budging. It seems they're a little too evenly matched, with the fight lasting a pretty long time. The only difference is that Chi-Chi has the size advantage of being a lot smaller than Mark, so she can slip past his blows a little easier. This ends up being his downfall, as she is able to land a few extra hits on him, and he is knocked out. When he comes to, Mark is depressed that he lost again, and to a girl this time. His ego is pretty badly bruised, so he decides to just go out for a walk to try and clear his head. As that is happening, the final match of round 1 begins with Kakarot versus Jackie Chun. Jackie Chun, of course, is Roshi in disguise, and he's worried about fighting Kakarot in the first round, but has been training ever since their last battle to try and instill the lesson in Kakarot that there is always somebody stronger. The two begin their fight, and right off the bat, Jackie knows he made a big mistake. Kakarot was already stronger than him before their first fight, and after training with everybody else in the group, he's only gotten much stronger. He thought that he was able to train enough to surpass him, but he was very wrong. He's not in the kids' league anymore. Kakarot is able to completely wipe the floor with Jackie without breaking a sweat. He seems disappointed in the old man, as he thought he was skilled, but not skilled enough for him. Kakarot beats Jackie extremely easily, with Roshi now worried that these victories will go to his head and he'll always believe himself to be the strongest that there is. After a brief break, round 2 begins, starting with Goku versus Krillin. Goku is eager to get revenge for her brother and rushes Krillin. Krillin's size isn't going to help him this time, as the two are the same height, forcing him to have to try more in this battle. As the two go at it, Krillin realizes that Goku is much more powerful than him, and he has to resort to grabbing her tail, just like he did for Raditz. Goku planned for this and is able to kick Krillin away, and then shove her tail in her pants, saying that if he wants to grab her tail, then he has to put his hand in her pants, which counts as sexual harassment. So unless he wants to get put on a list, she suggests he keep his hands out of there. Infuriated, Krillin tries to fire a Dodonpa to blast her out, but she catches the beam, throwing it right back towards him. The beam hits him right in the head, sending him toppling over. Goku jumps up and lands her knees right on his stomach, causing him to spit up blood. Holding his chest in pain, Goku is able to lift Krillin up the same as he did Raditz and throw him right out of the ring. She sticks her tongue out at him, saying that was for her brother. Krillin is about to jump back into the ring to attack her again, but Shen yells at his pupil to stop. He says that she won fair and square, and that he's a disappointment to the Crane School. He was a fool for accepting him as his student, and if he ever steps foot in their dojo again, he'll hire his brother to take him out. Krillin begs for forgiveness from his master, but Shen kicks him away and departs. Krillin sits there, trying not to cry in front of everybody, with Goku coming over to try and comfort him. He slaps her hand away, telling her to leave him alone as he flies off in the opposite direction, unsure of what to do now. After that depressing match, the next fight is between Chi-Chi and Kakarot. The two have a good match, with Chi-Chi going into it, already knowing she's going to lose, but she still tries her best to impress Kakarot since she kinda has a crush on him. Kakarot is of course nice to her since she's nice to him and doesn't completely destroy her. Of course he has to hold back a lot, but is still able to give Chi-Chi a good match, even if he forces her out of the ring in the end. Finally, it's time for the final bout. Goku versus Kakarot, sibling versus sibling. The two get into their fighting poses and rush each other. Kakarot obviously has a strength advantage, with Goku having the skill. She's been training longer than he has with different teachers, so she's able to maneuver around and deal more hits than he is able to. Kakarot gets annoyed at this and fires a Kamehameha right at his sister to throw her out. Goku retaliates with a burning attack, and the two have an extremely immense beam struggle. Both hold on, pushing their attacks with all they have, as the sheer power is blowing everybody back into stands. The beams explode, with Goku and Kakarot sent flying back. They're able to stay in the ring, but are both tired after the rough beam struggle. Goku had used more power than Kakarot did due to the sheer power of the burning attack, so is much weaker when the two begin to fight once more. The battle ends with Kakarot victorious and winning the entire tournament. Goku is disappointed that she lost, but has learned a lesson that there is always going to be somebody stronger than her, no matter how hard she tries, so she always needs to keep up with her training. Kakarot, however, has learned no such lesson, with the tournament ending how he expected it to, with him as the victor. He didn't even get to fight Raditz, who he was hoping to fight and test his new skills on, but he was taken out by the puny Krillin. How disappointing. He doubts there's anybody else on this planet that will be able to give him a proper challenge. Kakarot wins the prize money, and the group wonder what they will do now. Goku tells Roshi and her mom that she wants to go and find Krillin. He may be a jerk, but she feels bad that he was kicked out of 2 schools, and maybe if she can talk to him, maybe he'll become one of their friends. Gine is proud of her daughter for still seeing good in people, so tells her to go for it. Kakarot has had enough training with Roshi and decides to stay in West City with his mothers and brother. With his brother, maybe he can have a proper fight eventually. If Kakarot is staying in the city, then Chi-Chi wants to as well, with Mark actually deciding to stay with Roshi. That way, he can grow stronger and be able to beat Chi-Chi. The group all go their separate ways, with Goku using the Nimbus Cloud Roshi gave her to go and find Krillin. As she flies around looking for him, she is shot down from the air by a rocket launcher and lands hard on the ground. She weakly sits up, wondering what happened, as she's stabbed in the neck by a needle. She slaps the needle out of her neck and turns to see Javot is the one who stabbed her. She goes to attack, but is suddenly feeling really woozy. The drugs kick in fast, causing Goku to pass out. Javot picks her up and brings her back to his lab, saying she's the key to bringing Jasper back. Kakarot has moved into the city with his mothers and brother. City life is odd for him so far, as he's not quite sure how to interact with multiple people in a way that doesn't involve fighting. He isn't sent off to school since they all know things wouldn't end well in that way, but Vomi makes sure to still be teaching him things about normal, everyday life. Raditz and him try to have some sort of relationship, with the two sparring at Capsule Corp a few times so they can gauge their strengths. Kakarot still feels that he is above Raditz, so isn't too keen on his fighting. Not outright calling him weak, but subtly implying it, which angers Raditz a bunch. Bulma is kinda happy to see Raditz getting it from his little brother, as maybe that'll show Launch that he isn't the perfect teacher that she calls him. She offers to be trained by the young Kakarot, so she can test out her new tech gear on him, which of course he's open for. Kakarot is impressed with the progress Bulma has made on her gloves and boots, saying she's developed a lot of raw power in these. If she keeps up improving the designs, then she could actually prove to be a worthy opponent, so good job. Bulma beams, happy that her genius is finally being recognized. Since Kakarot has a lot of experience with technology from Jiro, he is able to help her find the right materials so she can have her very own battle suit. Bulma is able to develop her Mark I armor and try it out on Kakarot. They have a great fight, with Kakarot actually having to try since the technology is so advanced. After he wins though, he tells her that she's put up the best fight out of anybody he's fought recently, and he's glad he's able to hang with her. Bulma is really proud of herself now, and also happy she was able to break through Kakarot's tough exterior by her tech, and is pretty happy to be hanging with him too. The two continue to design her suit together and train, with Raditz now being jealous that his girlfriend is spending more time with his brother than he gets to. Him and Launch train extra hard now since he wants to be able to get over his tail weakness and be a good match for his brother finally. Chi-Chi has kind of been feeling left in the dust and decides to just go out exploring West City, using her new powers to thwart crimes in the city. She's a pretty good superhero who becomes pretty well liked. One day, she stops a bank robbery put on by Blonde Launch, with the two beginning to fight. Chi-Chi notices that this girl seems kind of familiar to her and wonders how she is so strong. The two battle it out, amazing the crowds around them as the two women clash blow for blow. Chi-Chi is having a really rough time dealing with the lady, as Launch knows that this will go on forever, and if she gets too tired out, she's probably going to be arrested by the police, so she needs to go. Before she tries to escape, Chi-Chi swings at her with launch dodging, though the air brushing up against her nose causes her to sneeze and revert back into her blue-haired form. Chi-Chi can't believe it. Launch? What is she doing here? Good Launch apologizes to Chi-Chi, saying that she has a bad case of split personality, where every time she sneezes, she becomes a completely different person. She came to Raditz to try and get some help in becoming stronger than her other self, but knows that if she sneezes in front of him, then her other half won't like him and try to either just leave or kill him. Chi-Chi tells her it's alright, that now that she knows what's happening to her, then they can do their best to help her through it. That way, both of her personalities can be good people, and they won't need to be scared of the blonde one. Launch is happy that somebody isn't repulsed by her different personalities, and goes off with Chi-Chi, so the two can train and attempt to help her come to better terms with her split personality. Days pass, with Gine beginning to get pretty worried about Goku. Why hasn't she come back from finding Krillin yet? It shouldn't have taken her this long. She calls up Roshi and Mark, seeing if she stopped by there at all, but they say they haven't seen her since the tournament. She calls up Gohan, asking if she's dropped by there, but again, nothing. She's getting pretty worried now, and after a few more days of waiting, she knows that something bad must have happened. Her, Raditz, and Kakarot fly outside of West City searching for Goku, trying to sense for her and figure out where it was she could have gone. They don't think that she could have been killed since she's one of the strongest people on the planet, but you never know. They're not able to find her themselves, which is really freaking Gine out. She was just able to get her kids back together. She can't lose that already. The others try to calm her down, with Roshi and Mark coming back to the city to help her out. Roshi suggests that they can go to his sister Baba and ask for her help, since she's able to find anybody. The crew journey to the home of fortune teller Baba, but they're saying that for her to find Goku, they either need to pay her 10 million Zeni, or they have to fight all the toughest opponents. Kakarot and Raditz are down for fighting, but Gine tells them that there's no time for that. Bulma pays the 10 million Zeni, since, again, Capsule Corp are trillionaires, so 10 million Zeni is nothing to them. After Baba gets paid, Baba finds on her crystal ball that Goku has been captured by the Red Ribbon Army and is currently being tortured by Javo. The group are stunned into silence, especially Kakarot and Vomi. Vomi screams out, furious that her own son has turned into a monster like Jiro. Kakarot doesn't understand how Javo could do something like that to his own sister. He was like a brother to him, and now he's torturing Goku like he was tortured by Jiro? This is too much. He was willing to let the whole Red Ribbon Army continue their operations with Jiro dead, but now he's going to burn them to the ground. He bursts off towards Jiro's lab, with Gine and Raditz following right behind him. The others can't fly, so don't know what to do, with Baba saying they can all stay here and watch through her crystal ball to see how they do in saving their friend. Reluctantly, the group decide to stay behind and watch, hoping that Goku will be saved. Kakarot thankfully recognized a base where Goku is being held, Muscle Tower, and bursts right into it, watching as Javo takes more of Goku's blood. He screams out at Javo to stop right there, as Javo smiles, telling Jasper it's good to see him again. Kakarot tells him that was his slave name. He goes by Kakarot now. Why did he abduct his sister? Javo attempts to talk some sense into his old comrade. The Red Ribbon Army has always strived to be the strongest corporation in the world. They strive for peace, no matter how many men, women, and children they need to kill to get it. Jasper was the perfect soldier, crafted into one by their father, Jiro. Kakarot sticks his hand up, preparing an energy blast. Jiro was not his father. Javo continues that him and his family are aliens, but their DNA, they'll be able to enhance all of their machines to above superhuman level. They've already got his DNA, but with even more from the rest of his family, then they can return the army to its former glory. He knows he wants back in. He enjoyed going out there and killing all those people. It's in his Saiyan nature after all. Hunting, fighting, killing. It's what he's meant to do. He knows he doesn't belong as a normal child living it up in the city. He's a Saiyan soldier, and that's always what he'll be. Kakarot looks at Javo, hesitating, blowing him away. Javo always understood him, right? He's been thinking the same thing lately. Is he really just a family kid? Or is he Jasper, the mighty Red Ribbon soldier? He lowers his hand, about to speak, as Gine bursts through the roof, telling Javo to let go of her daughter. Javo curses and shoots at Gine. Gine catches all the bullets, ready to throw them all right back at Javo, as he pushes a button near his desk to alert the others of a break-in. General Blue and Mercenary Tao burst into the room, with Blue freezing Gine in place with a telekinesis, as Tao throws a pillar at her, sending her flying out of the building. Kakarot tells him to stop, not to hurt her, with Javo saying it wouldn't have come to this if he could just wake up and see what he really needs to do with his life. Javo picks up Goku and leaves as Kakarot attempts to go after them. Tao appears in front of him, asking if he'll join them. Kakarot hesitates, saying not if his sister's life is on the line. Tao smiles, saying, so that's a no then, as he kicks him away. Kakarot and Tao begin their fight as Gine and Raditz together burst back in the room, saying they're getting Goku back. Blue rushes them, with Raditz blasting him into the wall, instantly knocking him out. More soldiers come into the room, attempting to shoot them all, with Gine zipping through the room at super speeds, knocking out every soldier in an instant. She then flies through the rest of the tower looking for Javo to get her kid back. She finds him attempting to escape underground, so she flies through the ground after them, as Javo deploys Bouillon to end her. Bouillon blocks her path, saying every strike she lands will just bounce right off of him, so it's useless to fight back. Gine, with little effort, punches a hole right through Bouillon, causing him to deflate. Javo, scared now, hops into his battle jacket to fight her off. This also doesn't last long against Angry Mama Gine, and she destroys it pretty easily, ripping Javo right out. Javo is slammed into the ground as Gine catches Goku. Raditz lands down next to her and holds out his hand, saying he's going to kill him for what he's done to his family. He's about to blow him away, until Kakarot lands in front of him, telling him to spare him. Raditz says he contributed in torturing him and Goku for these years, and he's just expected to live? Give him one good reason. Kakarot says his one good reason is right here, and uppercuts his brother away. Javo is also his brother in a way, and he may be doing bad things, but he's done bad things too, and they forgave him right away because he's family. Well, Javo is his family, so he forgives him. Raditz asks how he could say something like that, and rushes in towards his brother. The two fight it out once again, with Gine yelling at the two for them to stop. When they don't, she puts down Goku and jumps in between the both of them, slamming the two of them into the ground. Kakarot is surprised at the strength of his mother, as Gine yells that there will be no more fighting. Nobody else is dying today. She tells Raditz that she wants him to pay for what he's done too, but killing somebody that his brother is close to isn't the answer. She then turns to Kakarot, saying that she understands that he is family too, but he experimented on his sister, so they're not going to forgive him that easily. They won't kill him, but he's going to be locked up along with the rest of the army. She lets go of the two of them, asking if that's fair. The two rub the back of their heads and nod, as she says good, and that they need to go. The police arrive at Muscle Tower, arresting Red, Black, and Javo for their crimes. Kakarot looks sadly as Javo is being put into the cop car. He tells Kakarot one last time, think about what he said. He knows it's true. The army is now truly gone, as Goku is brought back to a hospital so they can figure out what happened to her and help her recover. The others make it to the hospital with the help of Baba, and are all pretty angry at Kakarot for seeming to side with Javo. As they saw him lower his hand through the crystal ball, Kakarot tries to explain himself, but realizes he doesn't need to explain anything to these guys. The only one who seems really hurt is Vomi, who is looking at Kakarot with anger, sadness, and disgust all at once. He hates how she's looking at him. He knows that she's angry at Javo for continuing Jiro's work, and now she probably thinks that he's just like him. He can't deal with how everybody's treating him right now, so he tells them he's leaving to clear his head. Raditz tries to stop him, but Kakarot pushes him out of the way and bursts from the hospital, going out to discover who he truly is. It takes some time, but Goku is able to recover, and they're all glad to find out that no robotics were put into her of any kind, and she just had a lot of tests done on her and a lot of blood taken out. She'll recover eventually, though it may take a bit. The group now have to recover themselves from this event. Kakarot is gone, and Goku took quite a beating without even having to fight. They know they need to train even harder than ever now to be ready for whatever Kakarot decides to do, and be ready for any more threats like the Red Ribbon Army. Raditz begins to train with Bulma in her suit, Kine moves back in with Grandpa Gohan with Goku, so they can help her recover in a relaxed environment, while Gine attempts to find Kakarot and bring him home once more. She does eventually find him, since he's not exactly hiding, with him telling her he needs to be on his own, so to please leave him be. Gine doesn't want to just leave him out here, but respects his decision, and leaves him be. Chi-Chi and Launch were talking a lot with fortune teller Baba, and she offered to help train them in magic since she saw that Chi-Chi had some magic deep within her, and Launch's alternate personality sneezes are magic already, so she can help the two train in this art. The two decide to stay with Baba to learn magic, as Mark continues his training with Roshi, though he does occasionally go to a girl named Miguel's concerts, a girl who Mark saved in an attempted kidnapping after his match in the last World Tournament. The two have grown close, with Mark landing a job in advertising with her, and he decides Mark isn't really a cool name, so he comes up with a pseudo stage name for now, Hercule. Yeah, that sounds pretty manly. He may come up with a manlier one down the line, but Hercule is good enough for now. The group have gone their separate ways after the attack on Goku, though the perpetrator of the attack, Javo, is in one place, prison. He's sitting alone in his cell when he hears a voice behind him. So, you want to change the world, is that right? Javo nearly has a heart attack and jumps up to see who's speaking with him. The stranger tells Javo that he is an enemy to the Saiyans. They've ruined his life, and if he can weaponize them against each other, then they should work together. He'll break him out if he agrees to help. Javo knows he needs to get out of his cage, so agrees. The stranger breaks him out, and with Javo's suggestions, breaks out General Blue and Mercenary Tao as well. They all arrive in the secret lab underneath their base, where Javo activates the supercomputer containing what is left of his father's consciousness. The stranger says that with his and his father's smarts combined, they can work together to bring an end to the Saiyans once and for all. He'll be back one day, but for now, keep doing the good work, and he'll be back to check on his progress. Javo and the supercomputer version of Jiro begin to take Kakarot and Goku's DNA to create the beings of ultimate destruction. Planet Cereal has been a thriving land for a while now, ever since Bardock and Guinea liberated the Heaters from the planet, and Manito managed to bring them all back. The young Granola has been filled in on how the planet has been saved by Saiyans, so he never got into the whole hating Saiyans thing, and even has been training himself as a bounty hunter to try and be heroes like them. The Shigarians also helped repair one of the old Cerulean artifacts, an AI eyepiece named Oatmeal. Manito gave the gift to Granola, which gave him a new friend. That way, he wouldn't become as lonely in the bounty hunter scene. With Oatmeal on his side, Granola managed to become the youngest bounty hunter in the sector, stopping petty thieves and criminals for the Shigarians. Unfortunately, this bounty hunter work caught the attention of the Heaters, and they decided that they would recruit Granola to their cause. Manito curses himself that he didn't hide the planet well enough, and somehow the remaining members of the Heaters managed to find them, and the rest of the Ceruleans, led by Granola, arrive at the ship to defeat these intruders. Turles, Jocha, and the rest of the Crusher Corps step out of the ship, surprised to see that this bounty hunter they heard so much about was the Cerulean that Bardock told them about. Manito asks them what another Saiyan is doing here, and if they have any relation to Bardock at all. Jocha says that she is the daughter of Bardock, and she knows of him from a story her father told her recently. Turles is shocked by this, and is happy that he managed to find more allies to Bardock. He shuts off his scouter, and tells Manito to listen very closely. He may be working with the Heaters, but he's secretly a part of Bardock's rebellion. Planet Vegeta was destroyed a few years back, with Frieza being defeated, and the remaining Saiyans going off to another planet to start a rebellion to take him down. These Ceruleans don't have to join in if they don't want to, but it would be a lot of help. Granola tells Manito that he feels he owes it to Bardock to join up with his rebellion, and he wants to go off with Turles and Jocha to help in any way that he can. Mesili knew that this day would come eventually, and tells Granola to be careful out there, and that she's happy that her son has grown into being a fine hero. Turles is able to relate the plan to Granola that if he just works it out with the Heaters for now, then the group of them can destroy them, and in turn, Frieza once they join back up with Bardock. Granola joins up with the new Heaters, with Turles and Jocha happy to have another member of Bardock's rebellion. It's been 3 years since the events of Goku's capture by the Red Ribbon Army. All of our heroes have grown in very different ways, with each of them growing in power and growing as people as well. Starting with Chi-Chi and Launch, they've grown more powerful than they could have imagined training under fortune teller Baba. Chi-Chi has managed to awaken some magic deep within herself, and be able to combine her inner magic with her ki, and create very powerful projections, her strongest attack being the Raging Bull. which is a key construction of a bull that with magic can stampede around everywhere and deal a hell of a lot of damage to anybody that comes into contact with it. As for Launch, with Baba's magic, she's been able to get in tune with her other personality. Think of it like Moon Knight or Asa and Yoro from Chainsaw Man. Both launches can hear each other while in their other forms, and have formed a unique bond where they can both hear and respect each other. With magic too, they can get new uniforms, that way you can tell the difference more easily. Good Launch would definitely be more like Asa or Mr. Knight, with her relying more on her magical attacks and is more the brains of the operation rather than a heavy hitter, with Evil Launch being more like Yoro or Moon Knight, with her being way more physical with her attacks and a lot more brutal too. She also is able to summon magical guns to fire at others, which makes her pretty dangerous. The two have gotten very powerful, with the others in West City having grown in power as well. Bulma has managed to upgrade her suit by quite a bit now, and is able to put up a pretty good fight with Raditz whenever he's around. The problem is, he's not around all that much. He has been in a slump ever since his brother betrayed his trust, and he isn't really up for more socializing. The two are still dating in a way, but they're not as close as they should be, which irks Bulma quite a bit as she really wants a relationship. She doesn't blame Raditz for Kakarot's actions, of course, which is why she didn't break up with him. But she's been trying to get Kakarot back for a while now. Since her armor has a built-in radar, she's been able to find and visit Kakarot from time to time to get some sparring in. He's built a good hut for himself out here in the woods, and has even gotten a friend out here as well, Yajirobe. The two spar pretty frequently and have a lot in common, so Kakarot let him stick around. He lets Bulma come and visit since she's always a good sparring partner, and she's always been nice to him in her own way. She's tried to convince Kakarot to come back into the city to make up with his brother, but he says he has no intentions of doing so. He knows what went down with the Red Ribbon Army wasn't okay, but they were still his family, and he shouldn't be taken away from his family like that. He always makes sure to go and visit Vomi to make sure she's okay, but Gine and Raditz just despise the Red Ribbon so much that it just hurts him to be around them. He has no ill feelings towards Goku and makes sure to try and spend some time with her as well when he can, but for Raditz, he's not sure that's ever gonna happen. Bulma can understand to a degree, and always continues to visit Kakarot and Yajirobe, and to her surprise, she visits him more than she visits Raditz. Is she starting to have more feelings for Kakarot than Raditz? She tries to push those thoughts out of her head and move on. Goku, Gine, and Raditz have done well with Grandpa Gohan, with Goku having gotten over much of what Javo did, and gotten much more powerful that way. What happened then won't ever happen again. Gine doesn't train much, but always has fun watching her kids duke it out, and it reminds her of when she used to train with Bardock back in the day. She misses him so much. Eventually, they all get a call from Mark, who has been spending a lot of time with his girlfriend Miguel lately. Mark tells them that Miguel is doing a concert for the upcoming World Martial Arts Tournament, and they should all join up once more to have a nice little reunion, since it's been around 3 years since everybody last saw each other. Once the invite has reached everybody, they do all decide that it would be a good time, and all agree to meet up at the World Tournament. Before the Briefs family can show up at the tournament, they are visited by Jocko, who has come to check in on the Saiyans and see if they're up to no good. Bulma tries to tell him everything is alright, and he doesn't have to stick around, but he wants to go into the city to watch a tournament, and pick up some milk and cheese too, since he's pretty hungry. The group meet up at the tournament, with the reunion being a bit awkward between Kakarot and Raditz. But besides them, Vomi and Gina are happy to see him again, and he welcomes them. The group is also surprised to see a couple of new faces as well. Well, to Roshi, they aren't new faces, but ones he didn't really want to see. That being Master Shen of the Crane School, and his new students, Tien and Chaozu. Goku wants to go and give one to Shen for what he did Krillin last time, but Tien and Chaozu stand in her way, trying to threaten her. Of course, Goku isn't one to back down so easily, and she says that she'll do her best to get these guys away from Shen, as when they lose, he'll probably try to throw him away just like he did with Krillin. A voice behind them says that was the best thing that could have ever happened to him though. And they turn around to see Krillin looking very different. He seems to have gotten a bit taller, and he's grown a pretty full head of hair. He gloats that ever since he got kicked out of the Crane School, he went his own way in training, and managed to discover a power that grew him into a greater fighter than ever before. Tien mocks Krillin, saying that he wasn't much when he was with them, so he doubts he'll be much now. Krillin smiles, saying he'll just have to wait and see. The group head off to the preliminary matches, with not everybody being able to make it in. Bulma deployed her armor into preliminaries, which automatically got her disqualified, which really bummed her out and got her laughed at by Raditz, which made her even more mad. Yamcha isn't able to make it in either, and neither is Kakarot's friend Yajirobe. The three are disappointed, but at least are happy that everybody else got in. With the preliminaries over, the matches are decided, with them consisting of Mark vs. Tien, Goku vs. Launch, Kakarot vs. Krillin, and Raditz vs. Chi-Chi. After a great before tournament concert by Miguel, the first match kicks off. Mark and Tien step into the ring, with Tien getting cocky just by the looks of Mark. He looks like nothing, and will probably be pretty easy to defeat. Mark isn't gonna go out so easily, however, as he's Hercule now, one of the greatest martial artists on the planet. Mark and Tien clash, with Mark dodging all of Tien's blows, mostly on accident, and rolling around the ring to deal some hard hits. Tien isn't shocked that even with his speed and 3 eyes that he can't seem to land that many hits on the kid. His wacky Hercule fighting style is idiotic, yet brilliant, as he fights like nobody he's ever seen before. Tien can see the disappointment in his master's face. Chaozu already didn't make it into the tournament, which angered him greatly. So if he loses to this clown in the first round, then he has no idea what his master will do. Tien is gonna end this now, no more games. He flies up as far as he can into the air and tells Mark that this is the end for him. Though, if he doesn't dodge this, then he'll be destroyed, so he better dodge. Mark has no idea what he's talking about, but once Roshi screams that he's not bluffing and needs to dodge, Mark realizes that, yeah, this is serious. Tien screams out and unleashes the Tri-Beam onto the ring, completely obliterating it. Everybody screams out in shock at the impact of the blast, and once the light show is finished, they look down to see that the arena is gone, and Mark is nowhere in sight. Miguel begins to cry, thinking that bastard just killed the love of her life. But as soon as the arena has disappeared, Tien falls right into the crater, knocked out. The group are confused and then look up to see Mark alive, in the air, falling as well. He blasts a small Kamehameha to slow his fall, and then lands outside of the crater. The announcer and everybody wonder what the hell just happened, and Mark quickly explains that he jumped up with all of his might to avoid the Tri-Beam and launch himself right into Tien's gut as hard as he could, which took the wind out of him pretty badly, and he was knocked right out. With Tien out cold, Mark is declared the winner, which makes him very happy as he's able to move on to the next round this time. The announcer is happy for him, but says that there may not even be a second round, since there isn't an arena anymore. Launch comes up saying that they don't need to worry, she can make one herself. She uses her magic to lift Tien out of the rubble, and then creates a whole new arena with her magic construct abilities. The announcer is overjoyed that the tournament can continue, with Master Shen being less than happy. He's about to go over and rip Tien a new one, until he's blasted away by Goku. Shen screams out as he's blasted off into the air, with Goku telling him that she warned him. Once Tien comes to, he's embarrassed by what just happened, but the others telling him that it's okay. Shen is gone and he can't harass him or Chaozu ever again. Tien doesn't know how to take in kindness like this, with the sweet moment being ruined by Krillin laughing. He says that Tien got taken out by the weakest member of the Turtle School. How does that even happen? Guess the great Tien is just a worthless sack of trash now. Tien erupts into anger, about to show Krillin, but the others hold him back, saying that if he goes after him, then he's no better than Shen. Tien breaks out of their grasp anyways, and goes after Krillin, with him blocking Tien's punch with one finger. Everybody gasps, with Krillin flicking Tien away like he's nothing, knocking him out once more. Krillin gives a devilish smile and walks away, while everybody is concerned on how Krillin just did that. Kakarot smiles though. He can feel his Saiyan blood pumping for a challenge. Is Krillin really going to be the one to give him that challenge? He's so excited. The next match moves on, with Goku stepping into the ring to fight with Launch. The two bow to each other and wish each other luck, with the match beginning. Goku goes into attack, with Launch summoning magic shields in front of her to block the strikes and smack her away with them. Goku is surprised at the durability of this shield, since none of her attacks can pierce through them. Though, while she can't really damage his shields at all, she is able to push Launch back due to her strikes being more powerful. Launch is being thrown back towards the edge of the ring, with Bad Launch telling her good self that it's time to switch, as she can get them back on the offense. Launch switches her personalities on command without even needing to sneeze, and a magical gun is fired directly at Goku, launching her back. Launch rushes towards Goku and begins to unleash a flurry of blows. Goku blocks the best that she can and retaliates to the best of her ability, which is enough, and Launch begins to be put on the back foot once more. This is when she shifts once more and summons a barrier all around Goku. Goku bangs on a barrier to release herself, with Launch shifting again and creating magical bullets throughout the barrier to barrage Goku with. These bullets don't exactly tickle, and Goku is overwhelmed with pain. Having enough, she explodes in ki, shattering the barrier all around herself, and launches a full power Buster Cannon straight at Launch. She shifts one final time to summon a gigantic shield in front of her to take the blow, with the shield being able to hold it off for just a moment, but cracks begin to show, and eventually the shield breaks apart and hits Launch dead on, blasting her right out of the ring and into the air. Once Goku calms down, she realizes that Launch probably can't fly, so calls out to the flying Nimbus to catch her and safely return her to the ground. With Launch landing back on the ground, Goku has won the match. The two shake hands afterwards, with Goku congratulating her on how skilled and powerful she's become. She'd be more than a match for basically every other human that she knows, so she's come quite a long way. Good Launch appreciates her kind words and tries to tell Bad Launch to be nice and to respect that they lost, which she says she'll try to do. The third round will now kick off with Kakarot versus Krillin. The two warriors step into the ring, with Kakarot eager to see how powerful Krillin has become since they last met. The match begins, and Krillin rushes in faster than the eye can see and nails Kakarot right in the face. Kakarot stumbles back, not expecting to hit the field that bad, with Krillin sweeping out his legs from under him and then headbutting him right in the stomach. Kakarot goes flying out of the ring and is about to hit the ground, but thankfully he stops himself in midair and flies back into the ring. Krillin smirks, saying that if this Saiyan wasn't cheating by flying, then he would have already won this. Kakarot grins, saying he's one to talk about cheating. This power he's gotten, it doesn't seem natural. There's no way that he could have gotten it by himself with simple training. Krillin glares, clearly having a nerve struck, and he rushes in to shut him up. The two clash blow for blow, with Krillin angered that he's still being kept up with. Kakarot is excited that they seem to be a match for each other, and tries to fire a rapid flurry of ki attacks to see what he'll do. Krillin dodges out of the way of them, and fires a series of Dodonpas in Kakarot's direction, with him being able to block all of them but one, as one hits him dead on in the chest. Kakarot stumbles back, feeling his chest and saying that, wow, that actually hurt. He explodes in power, laughing, saying it's been so long since he had a real challenge. His friends are as a good sparring match, but this is a real battle. And since this guy isn't his friend at all, he doesn't need to hold back. Kakarot explodes towards Krillin and slams him right in the chest with a knee, causing Krillin to spit up blood. He tackles Kakarot, with the two continuing to battle until they're both beaten and bloody. Gine and Vomi watch Kakarot and worry. He's battling as much as he can and is getting injured quite a bit, but doesn't seem angry at all. He seems happy because of the pain. Vomi asks if that's the Saiyan trait, with Gine telling her that it unfortunately is for most Saiyans, with her Bardock being like that when he was a boy too. She just hopes that he'll grow out of it eventually. As the match goes on, Krillin has gotten more and more tired. His body is still enjoying the fight, but his mind not so much. He still shouldn't be struggling. He's not going to lose to these guys again. He'll prove to them he's the strongest on this planet. He flies back from Kakarot and charges up his own Tri-Beam. Mark yells out to Kakarot to be careful, as that's the same move Tien used, and if he got hit with that, he'd have been toast. Kakarot says he doesn't need to worry. He can handle it. He begins to charge up a Kamehameha in retaliation, with Roshi screaming out that the Kamehameha isn't powerful enough to stop the Tri-Beam, and if he doesn't dodge, he'll die. Kakarot ignores him and fires out the Kamehameha anyways, right as Krillin unleashes his Tri-Beam. The two beams clash, with the Tri-Beam pushing the Kamehameha back by a large deal. But Kakarot is holding his ground, powering up more and more to keep the beam at bay. Krillin pushes with all of his might, doing his best to overtake Kakarot's attack and blow him to Kingdom Come. He pushes and pushes, with the beam only slowly creeping in on Kakarot. Any second now he'll overtake him. That's when Krillin's body is overwhelmed with agonizing pain. The strain of the Tri-Beam is too much, and his body explodes in agony. He collapses into the ground screaming as the Tri-Beam disappears. The Kamehameha then launches right into Krillin, blowing him out of the ring and into the crowd. Kakarot cheers, with the crowd cheering for him as well. Roshi looks on at Kakarot, feeling a twinge of fear. He purposely kept the Tri-Beam at bay, knowing that if Krillin pushed more and more, that it might kill him. Was he just doing it to weaken him? Or actually kill him? There is something he needs to do about him before it's too late. Krillin comes to, enraged beyond belief. He slams the ground, screaming that it's impossible. He wished to become just like the Saiyans. How is he still able to lose? Goku and the group go up to Krillin, asking what he means, with him saying he managed to work with this group called the Pilaf Gang to find all of the Dragon Balls, and he used them to wish to be just like Goku and Kakarot, and Shenron turned him into this. He pulls out his tail, revealing that he basically wished himself into becoming a Saiyan. Everyone is in shock at this revelation, with Gine going up to tell him that it's gonna be okay. Going from a human to a Saiyan shouldn't be easy. She knows since she had to adapt from being a bloodthirsty Saiyan into a human when she landed on Earth. With her help, she can try to make the transition easier and help him to repress his Saiyan instincts. Krillin backs away, saying that he doesn't need her help. He's supposed to be the strongest there is now. The announcer calls out for the next contestants to step into the ring, and once everybody looks behind them, Krillin flies off once more. Goku contemplates going after him again, but has a twinge of PTSD of what happened last time, and decides she'll do it after the tournament and have somebody go with her this time. As Krillin flies off, he wonders what it is he can do now. Did he not word the wish correctly? Maybe this time he can find a Dragon Balls and wish to be the strongest in the universe. Maybe then he can get above the Saiyans and teach Kakarot a thing or two. This is when he's stopped from behind by a monster. Krillin screams out ready to attack it, but the monster telling him to take it easy. His name is Tambourine, and he says that he was watching the match between him and Kakarot, and he says that he has some immense power. If he joins up with him and his father, then they could use their power to stomp those freaks and take over the planet. Krillin doesn't know about ruling the planet, but loves the idea of taking out the Turtle School Saiyans and getting revenge for how they embarrassed him. Tambourine and Krillin shake hands, with Tambourine saying the ultimate way to get revenge is to kill one of the group, one of their weaker ones, an easy target. Krillin thinks for a moment of the group and which one he could take out easily, and one that would hurt Goku and Kakarot the most. He smiles as he realizes who he's going to kill. The final match of the first round begins, with Raditz and Chi-Chi stepping into the ring. Raditz is curious to see where Chi-Chi's training with Baba has gotten her, and he doesn't want to go too hard on her. He flies in with a basic attack to see how she does against it, with Chi-Chi launching fire out of her hands and burning him right up. Raditz screams in pain as, he's on fire, and he flies around in the air as fast as he can to put it out. He is pretty annoyed now and rushes in to get his revenge. The two clash blows, with Chi-Chi not being a match for him in the raw power department, so she needs to switch her tactics. She wraps herself in fire and spins away in a tornado all around Raditz, striking at him with fiery attacks. The attacks burn Raditz pretty badly, so he has to fly away to try and avoid them. Unfortunately for Chi-Chi, she can't really fly unless she's spinning around in her fire tornado, and she can't do that for long. So when Raditz flies up and begins to rain fire of his own down onto her, it's not looking good. She dodges and tries to shoot at the beams as much as possible, but she can't stay on the defense forever. She decides now is the only time she has to unleash her strongest attack, and she fires off her Raging Bull attack up towards Raditz. Raditz is shocked at seeing a fiery bull coming his way, and he launches his double Sunday right at the construct to hold it back. The beam clash is enormous, with the crowd being blown back. The two struggle, with Raditz not believing that he has to actually try and holding it back. He guesses that magic really is powerful. He pours more of his power into it to push it more, and Chi-Chi begins to slide back due to the pressure. The two struggle for so long that Chi-Chi is eventually pushed right out of the ring, causing the bull to explode and send Raditz flying away as well. The announcer pulls out his binoculars to see what happened to Raditz and sees that he landed on top of a car, but since Chi-Chi fell out of the ring first, Raditz is the winner. Chi-Chi is pretty disappointed that she lost, but is really happy she was able to hold back an attack from Goku's big brother. Not everybody would be able to do that. Raditz tells her as much when he flies back, and says that if she keeps up with her training, she'll definitely be able to take even Kakarot. Kakarot rolls his eyes at the remark, but does say that she did a good job. The second round kicks off with Goku versus Mark. Mark is going into this battle knowing the full outcome already, since he can't use his Hercule style on Goku, since she knows exactly how he fights. but he can use this fight to see how much he's improved, and that's exactly how it goes. Goku has the clear advantage, and this isn't much of a fight to her anymore. But Mark has proven how far he's gotten by even being able to launch a Kamehameha of his own, which catches Goku by surprise. It's not a surprise though that she beats him in the end, but tells him he's definitely gotten leagues better. He should probably head back to Roshi soon so we can really hone in his skills though. Final match of round 2 then kicks off with brother versus brother, Kakarot versus Raditz. This is the battle that Raditz has been waiting for all of this time. The chance to finally one-up his brother and get him back on their side. As for Kakarot, he wants this battle to finally prove to Raditz that he was right about Javot. The two power up and rush towards each other with their fists clashing as they fly all around the arena. The two fight as equals, with Kakarot not realizing how much stronger than Krillin Raditz is. He really has been serious about his training. The two continue their clash, with the both of them not taking it easy on the other at all. Raditz tells his brother that if he's not careful, then he could really lose this thing, but he knows that's not going to happen. Kakarot scoffs, saying that's exactly how it's going to go down. Raditz smirks, asking, "Is it?" Kakarot is confused at his brother's sudden confidence, with Raditz taking this momentary confusion to reach out and rip Kakarot's tail clean off. Kakarot screams out in pain as Raditz smacks his brother in the face with it, sending him spiraling down. Raditz yells out to Goku and Guinea to close their eyes as he launches a fake moon into the air. The crowd watches in horror as Raditz begins to grow and grow, with him becoming a great ape. Kakarot curses as he tries his hardest to land hit upon hit, with the power difference being way too big now. Nothing is hurting Raditz. Raditz grabs Kakarot in his paws, with Kakarot unable to break free. He screams out at Raditz that he's a cheater, using the Great Ape form is against the rules. Raditz laughs, saying that there's no rule for no transformations. He used his mind to beat his brother. It's not just about overpowering with strength, it's with brains too, and he needs to learn that lesson. The lesson he wants to teach him is that there's always somebody more powerful than you, and he should never just assume that he's the strongest there is. Contrary to what he thinks, he doesn't hate him. He was just mad at him that he might have lost his way, but now that he can actually talk to him, he can tell him he still loves him, and that he's accepted that they live very different childhoods. And if they can be brothers again, he'll do his best to prove that to him. Kakarot stops struggling and looks up at his brother. He says that he never hated him either. He just wanted to be understood. His whole life was a lie, and he just almost gave in to going back to normalcy and not accepting a change, even if the change was for the best. He just hasn't evolved to the fact that he's an alien, and that he has a family that actually loves and cares for him. After all the torture that Jiro put him through, he was only used to one person loving him, Vomi. Having a whole group of people doing it was overwhelming, and he's still not fully beaten the programming Jiro beat into him, but he's willing to try now. The two smile at each other, with Raditz blasting the fake moon out of the sky and reverting back to normal. He then says that he forfeits the match, as he's done all that he wanted to do. Kakarot smiles, punching him on the arm, calling him a jerk. The second round is completed, with Kakarot being welcomed back into the family with open arms, and Guinea saying that this is the happiest she's ever been. Vomi is extremely proud of her son as well, and says that the red ribbon is finally behind them, and they can move on with their lives together. Kakarot smiles and hugs Vomi as well, saying of course, and that he'll never leave her again. The final round is now between Kakarot and Goku once more, with this match being a lot friendlier than the one they had 3 years ago. This match is just for the two siblings to be friends again, and of course to test out how powerful each of them has become now. Kakarot, of course, wins in the end, with it being pretty close, but Goku still hasn't been able to reach his level yet. She says she will one of these days, and Kakarot tells her that he can't wait for that. Kakarot is the winner of the tournament, and this time, he doesn't really care all that much. All he cares about is that he has his family back now. The group all meet up outside, with Tien and Shotsu thanking them for teaching them a valuable lesson, and he'd be happy to stick around them and be friends as well. Kakarot tells them, of course, and with his prize money, he'll treat them all to a big meal. Though, he remembers that he forgot to grab the money before he left. He goes back to grab it, but Vomi tells him to stay out there, and she'll go grab it for him. Kakarot thanks his mother, and continues to talk with Guinea and the others, telling him what he's been up to these past few years with Yajirobe. Suddenly, Jocko tells him that he kinda worried him there for a minute, but Kakarot just says he doesn't need to worry about that because he's not evil or anything. Jocko says, yeah, he's not sure, with Bulma punching him in the back of the head, telling him to shut up already. Everybody laughs, until they hear a loud scream from back inside the tournament grounds. They all look towards where they heard the scream, with Kakarot recognizing who did the screaming. He rushes back into the building, with the others following closely behind. He zooms in to see Vomi laying on the ground, with Krillin standing over her. Krillin sees Kakarot and flies away as fast as he can, with Kakarot about to go after him, but notices he can't sense Vomi's energy. He rushes up next to her, and his heart stops. She's dead. The others all gasp seeing Vomi like this, with all of the girls beginning to cry. Kakarot is just deadpan staring, however. He can't believe it. Raditz walks up behind his brother, saying he's so sorry. Kakarot slowly stands up and lets out a blood-curdling scream. His ki explodes, sending everybody flying back. He continues to scream out in agony as his body is suddenly overtaken in a yellow glow. As he screams, his hair rises up and turns gold, with Kakarot transforming into a Super Saiyan. The group stare in awe at Kakarot's transformation. His golden glow, his golden hair. It's impossible. Could Kakarot have become the legendary Super Saiyan? Just as soon as he's awakened this form, it disappears, with Kakarot reverting to normal and collapsing on the ground, the transformation being too taxing for the young boy. Everybody has to try and comprehend what is going on. First, Vomi is dead, killed by Krillin of all people, and now Kakarot has awakened a legendary power of his race. It's a lot to take in at once. Roshi finds a slip of paper on the ground with the demon insignia on it and realizes what is happening. The Demon King Piccolo has returned. The group asks who that is, with Roshi telling the story of how, decades ago, Piccolo rampaged through the land, slaughtering countless people. It wasn't until his master, Mutaito, trapped him with the Mafuba that he was stopped. It seems he's been freed from his prison and is now upon them once more. Tien asks him if Master Shen would have been the one to free him. However, Roshi says that even he wouldn't stoop to that level. However, maybe he let it slip to Krillin, and in an attempt to get revenge, he found the Demon King and unleashed him. Krillin. How could he do something like this? They knew he was a bad guy, but to kill Vomi and unleash a Demon King Piccolo is just pure evil. Bulma gives the group worse news too, that the Dragon Balls are being gathered by somebody. Maybe Piccolo is gathering the Dragon Balls in an attempt to wish to take over the world easier. Gine speaks up, saying she's not allowing that to happen. This is the planet she's grown to call home. She may be a Saiyan physically, but she is a human at heart. She won't let anything disrupt that peace, and together, they're going to find Krillin and Piccolo and put a stop to them. She can sense their energies not too far from here, so they need to get their revenge. Raditz and Goku immediately step up, ready for the confrontation, with Bulma suiting up in her armor and Lan shifting to her blonde form. Chi-Chi and the others say that they're going to stay behind to put Vomi to rest and watch over Kakarot to see if he can recover. Tien and Mark would certainly like to go, but Chi-Chi says that she needs them here just in case Kakarot wakes up and goes on a rampage, since she can't stop him on her own. The group split off, with team fighters ready to get their revenge. Krillin can't believe he killed Vomi. He has never killed anybody before, and it felt weird. Like, he was happy to finally get revenge on Kakarot and his family, but to kill somebody who didn't have anything to do with him felt wrong. The Demon King Piccolo tells him to set his mind elsewhere. He did a fantastic job and should be proud. He acted like a true demon, and with him by his side, they can rule the world together. All other martial artists will die, and with the threat of the Mafuba out of the way, then nothing can stop them. Krillin does his best to set Vomi's screams out of his head and listens to the big boss. The Pilaf gang, who are the ones to actually free Piccolo, aren't a fan of Krillin being brought aboard, since he betrayed them to take the Dragon Balls for himself and wish him to be some sort of alien. They try to tell Piccolo that he betrayed them, so what's stopping him from betraying him? Piccolo glares at them, saying that he would be a fool just like how they are fools for trying to tell him what he can and cannot do. Piccolo then turns to Krillin, saying that to prove his loyalty, kill these three right here. The Pilaf gang scream in fear, with Krillin looking over nervously to them. He was able to kill Vomi, so these three should be the same, right? But when he killed Vomi, she was alone. To do it with an audience is kind of disturbing. Piccolo asks him what he's waiting for, and demands he kill the three of them at once. Krillin jumps and tells the Demon King that he will right away, and readies a ki blast to wipe them out. The Pilaf gang huddle together in fear, as the ship they're on is suddenly fired upon. Piccolo stands up, wondering who dares fire upon a ship, when he sees what appears to be an iron woman poking her face up to the window and deploying explosives to blow the ship to pieces. Piccolo goes to blast her away until the explosives detonate and part of the ship is blown away. Piccolo grabs Piano to protect him, while Krillin is launched towards the ground. The Pilaf gang burst open the Pilaf machine and jump in to survive, with all of them landing on the ground hard. The Pilaf gang then takes this distraction to run away from Piccolo. Bulma then lands right in front of them, with Raditz, Gine, Goku, and Launch following right behind her. Piccolo demands to know who dares attack him in his own ship, with Raditz saying they dare attacking a murderous madman to protect their planet. Him and Gine are pretty confused though. This Piccolo, he's not a demon at all, he's just a Namekian? Gine says that all of the Namekians she came across out there were peaceful people. How did one end up on Earth and become a villainous madman? Piccolo is confused now. A Namekian? Are they saying he's an alien? No, that's impossible. He is a demon, the great Demon King Piccolo. Raditz shrugs it off, saying that Namekian or not, he's going to pay for what he's done. He erupts in power and blasts right towards the Demon King, knocking him away. Piccolo and the others around him are shocked at how he was struck so suddenly, with the Demon King attempting to fight back, but it's no contest. Raditz is clearly dominating him. Krillin rushes in to help Piccolo, with Gine blasting him away, saying that's not going to happen. They need to have a chat. Krillin grits his teeth and erupts into his own power, saying he doesn't want to hear it from them. He rushes Gine, with her blocking his strike pretty easily. He gasps, not expecting that, with her kneeing him in the gut, which causes him to spit blood. That strike was stronger than anything Kakarot dealt to him in a tournament. She twists him around, nailing him right in the back, sending him hard into the ground. She steps on his back, saying that she's no pushover. She hates to fight, but that doesn't make her a weakling. She trained very hard with Bardock on planet Sadala, and that none of that power she gained ever went away. She is the true strongest being on this planet, and if anybody wants to mess with it, they're going through her. She thought she understood him. He was just a misunderstood boy who was bullied his whole life, and through his own insecurities, he became the bully, and now, a murderer. He's killed one of her closest friends, and somebody her son also considered a mother. That is something she will not forgive, and he's going to be going away for a long time. As she's giving her whole speech, Tambourine and Symbol appear behind them and attack Bulma, Goku, and Launch. The three are shocked there are other demons and are damaged pretty badly. Gine turns around to see what's happening, with Krillin launching a Donpa at her, nudging her away just enough that he can get out of her hold. He flies over to help Piccolo against Raditz, with Gine letting him do so, since she needs to help the others against these other demons. Goku and Launch would normally be able to face these aliens with their own power, but they're weakened quite a bit from the tournament still, and aren't really a match. Thankfully, Bulma can protect them with her armor, since she never was in the tournament and is still at 100%. She can't take on both of the demons alone, however, which is where Gine comes in to help. She blasts at Symbol to get her off of Bulma, and goes for him as Bulma is left to deal with Tambourine herself. She can hold her own pretty good in her armor, but Tambourine is a vicious opponent, and one she won't be able to take on easily. Piccolo is getting his ass handed to him, with him so shocked on anybody beating him without having to resort to the Mafuba. How can martial artists have gotten this powerful in his absence? Even when Krillin tries to help, he is weakened from the tournament as well, and can't do much in helping him out. Raditz stands over the two of them, saying that it's over, they've lost. He'd love to kill them, but his mom said that won't be happening. They're both going to prison. Piccolo can't help but laugh at the word prison. No prison can hold a great demon king. If only he had his youth back, then he would have squashed a group of them like flies. Raditz scoffs, saying, "Whatever, man," and he pulls out the Galactic Patrol armband, saying that his buddy Jocko knows one person that can hold them. As he goes to put the handcuffs on, he hears more explosions behind them, with Bulma having a rough time against Tambourine. He looks on, pretty sure that she should be able to handle herself, though Piccolo takes the opportunity to blast out at her, and the ki hits her armor right in the back, causing most of the... And this allows Tambourine to blast her himself, seemingly finishing her off. Raditz screams out, rushing to her side and trying to help her. She's stuck in her burning suit and doesn't appear to be breathing. No, she can't be dead. She can't be! Tambourine laughs out, saying humans are so fragile without any armor protecting them, and he flies over to help up his father and Krillin. Raditz explodes in rage, with his body being covered by a fiery aura. He screams out that the demons are going to pay for this, and his hair rises up inflamed in energy. His pupils disappear as the rest of his body erupts in gold. Raditz has awakened a newfound energy. Gine looks on in surprise. Has Raditz become a Super Saiyan as well? No, he has the energy of one, but not. It's so weird. It's almost as if he's almost at that stage, but not quite. He's like a false Super Saiyan. Raditz appears next to Symbol, kicking him so hard that his head explodes, with his brains flying everywhere. Tambourine rushes back in to attack, with Raditz ripping off his wings and smacking him around with them. Tambourine screams out in pain, with Raditz ending his suffering by punching a hole right through his chest and launching him right in the air, firing a weekend attack at him to silence him forever. He then rushes up to Piccolo, slicing his arm off and beginning to bash his head in with it. Krillin tries to interfere, but only gets smacked across the face by his tail and sent flying into a tree unconscious. Raditz continues to beat Piccolo upside the head with his own arm, about to land a finishing blow, when a voice screams at him to stop. Raditz freezes. That voice was inside his head. How? The voice screams that if he kills Piccolo now, then the Dragon Balls will disappear too, and then nobody will be able to be revived. This shocks Raditz out of his false Super Saiyan form, and he reverts to normal, standing up and getting his head clear again. The Dragon Balls will disappear if he kills King Piccolo? How? The voice tells him it's a lot to explain, but they need to let Piccolo go for now and go to Korin Tower, where he will explain everything. Raditz yells out to the voice saying that he's not going anywhere. Piccolo needs to pay for what he did to Bulma and Vomi. The voice says he understands, and the only way to avenge them is by going to Korin Tower and letting Piccolo go for now. If they go to Korin, they'll find a way to seal Piccolo away again, without killing him and allowing the Dragon Balls to live on to revive those who were lost. Raditz struggles with what he should do, with Gine telling him that she trusts the voice. If they want to stop Piccolo for good, then they need to let him go for now. Raditz sighs, saying as much as he hates to, he'll let him go. Piccolo smiles, standing up and regrowing his arm good as new. He tells him that it's cute that Kami thinks he can stop him, and nothing will ever defeat the Demon King. He grabs Krillin and Piano and flies away as fast as he can. Raditz and Gine glare daggers at him and reluctantly let him go. As he goes over to check on Bulma again, he finds that the emergency care system in her suit activated, zapping her enough to get her heart beating again. She's alive! Gine says that she'll take her as fast as she can to the West City to get her help. He needs to head over to Korin's and find out how to stop Piccolo. She quickly gives him directions on how to get there, and Goku goes off with her brother to help, as Launch joins up with Gine to bring Bulma home, separating the group even more. Raditz and Goku arrive at Korin's tower, where they meet with Upa and his father Bora. They quickly explain the situation to them, with Bora letting them know that climbing Korin's tower can give them incredible strength, and maybe that's how they'll be able to defeat Piccolo. Raditz begins to fly up to the tower, but Bora says that to prove themselves worthy to Korin, they need to actually climb the tower. Raditz is irritated by this, but Goku is already climbing up, saying that it's for Bulma and Vomi's sake. Raditz sighs and begins to climb up the tower with Goku. It doesn't take them long to get to the top and meet with Korin. Korin introduces himself, telling the two they've climbed the tower faster than anybody before, even their master Roshi. He would like to give them a Senzu bean to restore their full health, but his beans went bad and they don't have the healing properties that they should. But he knows they're here because Kami contacted them. They've proven themselves worthy by climbing the tower, and now he can give them the bell to signify that they're welcomed on the lookout. Raditz and Goku are all sorts of confused by this whole interaction, but go along with everything that way they can get to this so-called Kami and defeat Piccolo. Since they don't have the power pole with them to use to get to the lookout, Corrin allows them to just fly themselves up there, so that's exactly what they do. Goku isn't as good as flying as Raditz, but is still able to fly high enough to reach the lookout, which is a giant floating building in the sky. As soon as the two land down on it, they meet with Mr. Popo and Kami himself. The two are shocked to see that Kami looks just like King Piccolo, with Raditz getting into a fighting position since he thinks this was all just a trick. Kami reassures him that he's not tricking them at all. Him and Piccolo are technically the same being, as the two split apart years ago. He stayed up here to become the guardian of this planet, with Piccolo becoming a demon and raining hell upon the mortals. Thankfully, Piccolo was sealed away by Mutaito, and Kami was able to survive long enough to create the Dragon Balls. Goku is surprised by the fact that Kami made the Dragon Balls, with him saying he indeed did, and that since him and Piccolo are still one, killing him would get rid of the Dragon Balls as well. So if they want to bring their friends back to life, they need another way to defeat him, with the Mafuba. The two are the only ones strong enough to learn this move and be able to survive the ordeal, mainly since they're not human. Raditz asks if he recognizes them as Saiyans from Namekian info, with Kami saying that he had no idea what a Namekian even was until they mentioned it to Piccolo. He's been on Earth his whole life pretty much, and has no recollection of the so-called Namek or anything. He's glad to know that somebody does though, and that maybe once Piccolo is taken care of, they could have a nice chat about it. Raditz is more focused on getting rid of Piccolo, so says of course, and they need to learn this Mafuba fast. Kami nods and begins his preparations for the two to learn this demon containment wave and seal away Piccolo for good. Back on Earth, Gine managed to put Bulma into her old Saiyan pod and begin the life support system on there to heal her up some more. She wishes that they could have some of the Saiyan healing pods from back on Sadala here, but unfortunately, it just can't be. Chi-Chi, Mark, and Tien made their way to Capsule Corp as well with Kakarot, and he has just awakened. He doesn't remember much of the Super Saiyan transformation he achieved, but he remembers the rage he felt on seeing Vomi's death. He tells them he needs to go and find Krillin now, with Gine catching him up on what else he missed while unconscious. The real culprit is King Piccolo, and he can't kill him or else the Dragon Balls will be rendered useless. Raditz and Goku are up with Kami training right now to defeat him without killing him. Kakarot tells her that's not enough. He's still out there right now, killing God knows how many people, and that they don't know how long this training is going to take. They need to go out there now and stop him. Gine tries to hold him down, but Kakarot needs his vengeance for Vomi, and he flies off to find Piccolo. Tien flies closely behind him, saying he needs to go too to prove his worth as a martial artist. Kakarot respects him, allowing him to tag along, with Chi-Chi and Mark following behind the two on the flying Nimbus, saying they can't let him go alone. They'll defeat Piccolo together. Kakarot allows them to follow him, and they rush off to where he can sense the Demon King. Piccolo, Piano, and Krillin have used the Pilaf Gang's Dragon Radar to gather all 7 of the Dragon Balls. With all of them in hand, Piccolo says that he can use the wish to regain his youth, and that way he can squash those pesky bugs. Piano tells his master that, while that may be true, they should probably be better safe than sorry. With all of them with Kami, they may still become strong enough to defeat him. Wouldn't it be better if you wish for immortality? That way he can never die, and live forever to defeat these pesky flies and live forever to rule the world? Piccolo likes the sound of that a lot, and tells Piano that's a great idea. He asks Krillin if he thinks it's a good idea, with him saying that, definitely sounds like it. Piccolo stands in front of the Dragon Balls, about to summon Shenron, when Kakarot and the others land next to him. Piccolo looks on in confusion. Who are these brats, and why does that one in the front look just like the girl from earlier? Kakarot glares daggers at Krillin, with Krillin backing up terrified. Kakarot's rage builds just looking at him, with the golden glow returning all around him. He says that they're monsters, and that they're going to pay for what they did. He screams out that they're going to pay! He erupts once more into his golden form, the legendary Super Saiyan. The sheer transformation alone blows everybody around him back, with Kakarot growling that they stole his mother away from him, and they're going to regret ever being born. Cause now he's mad. Now he's really, really mad. And now it's time for them to pay. Kakarot bursts off towards Krillin, with him screaming and ducking out of the way, with Kakarot nailing Piano instead. And Piano just straight up explodes due to the impact of the punch. Piccolo and Krillin back up, with Krillin begging Piccolo to help him. Piccolo takes one look at Kakarot and runs back towards the Dragon Ball, saying he's on his own. Krillin has been betrayed once again. He did his bidding, he killed Vomi for him, and he was promised protection. But, once again, he's been abandoned. Kakarot zooms into him, ripping his tail clean off, saying he's not one of them. He beats Krillin bloody, making sure not to kill him or knock him unconscious. That way, he can feel every single blow he lands on him. He wants him to suffer for what he did. He wants him in absolute agony. Krillin's screams echo all around them, while the others extremely disturbed seeing the torture in front of them. So disturbed that they don't even notice Piccolo putting the Dragon Balls back together and summoning Shenron. On the lookout, Kami can sense the battle going on below, with him sensing Kakarot's rage. He tells them that there's no more time for training. If they don't get down there now, then their brother is going to kill Piccolo. Goku says that they're not ready yet, they need more practice with the Mafuba. But Kami screams that they're out of time, it's stop Kakarot or no more Dragon Balls. Reluctantly, the two barrel down off the lookout to stop his brother from doing something he'll regret. Kakarot gets off of Krillin and steps in front of Piccolo, saying that if he makes a single move, he'll blow him right out of existence right now. Piccolo freezes, knowing that the kid's not bluffing. Kakarot looks up at Shenron and says that he wishes for Vomi to be brought back to life. Shenron's eyes glow for a moment, and after a deafening silence, Shenron tells Kakarot that his wish cannot be granted. Kakarot, shocked, looks up at Shenron asking, how is that possible? He's supposed to be able to grant any wish he wants. Shenron tells the boy that revival is beyond his power. His creator has grown too weak in his old age, which limits his powers, meaning the one named Vomi cannot be brought back. Kakarot stares off at Piccolo, his heart shattered. He had hope that he could bring back his mother, even though it seemed impossible. But no, she's gone. He's never going to see her again. She's never coming back. Kakarot turns his hand towards Shenron himself, screaming that if he can't bring his mother back, then he's no good to him. Kakarot fires at Shenron, engulfing the dragon in ki, blowing him out of existence. Piccolo screams out no, but it's too late. The Dragon Balls have turned to stone. Shenron is dead. Raditz and Goku land just in time to see Shenron destroyed, with Raditz asking Kakarot, what has he done? The Dragon Balls could have brought Vomi back. Is he crazy? Kakarot screams that they couldn't have brought her back. This psycho took her from him. He rushes in to finish a job on Piccolo, with Raditz standing in his way, saying that they need him. Kakarot punches him aside, with Raditz transforming once again to his false Super Saiyan form and trying to hold off his brother from Piccolo. Though, it's clear that his power alone won't be able to hold off Kakarot for very long. Goku realizes that she has to save Piccolo, so pulls out the rice cooker and prepares to fire her Mafuba straight at the Demon King. Piccolo looks on in shock, as he is suddenly caught in the green whirlpool. Kakarot screams out no, and fires a gigantic mouth blast to get Raditz away. He then fires a Kamehameha at Goku, hitting her dead on in the chest and blasting her away, interrupting the Mafuba. Piccolo is released from the Mafuba's hold and is immediately blasted through by Kakarot. Everybody yells out no, as Piccolo stands there with a hole blown right through his chest. He looks at the hole in his chest with him saying he can't believe it. Him, the great Demon King, outclassed by this much. He won't allow that anymore. He smiles at Kakarot, saying that the demon folk will easily disappear. He spits out one last egg, with it flying right towards the others and landing at Mark's feet. He looks towards the egg, telling it to one day avenge its father's death and to not let the fire of evil die out. With that, Piccolo's body can't take it anymore and explodes. Kakarot watches Piccolo explode with a smile, saying that he did it. He avenged Vomi. No, not yet. He walks over to Krillin, ready to finish him off as well, though he reverts back to his base form, having exhausted himself on his Super Saiyan transformation. He won't let that stop him though, as he's prepared to kill Krillin still, until Goku appears behind him and slams him right on the head. Kakarot, exhausted and fatigued, is knocked out by the attack and collapses next to Krillin. Goku falls to her knees with tears in her eyes, calling him an idiot. Time passes, with Jocko having arrested Krillin and brings him off-world to the galactic prison, where he can no longer hurt anybody else on this planet. Kakarot watches him leave and looks back at his family. He looks down and tells them that he's sorry for the way he acted. The Super Saiyan transformation made him so rageful and he couldn't control it. He needed revenge. Kakarot tells him he understands, but that was no reason to kill Shenron. Now, the Dragon Balls are gone forever, and they can no longer use them to help at all. Kakarot says he apologizes for that too, and that he was just so hurt. Vomi is gone forever, and even with all the power in the world, he was powerless. He says that he's accepted them as family now, after what they went through at the tournament, but he can't allow himself near them for too long. Every time he starts to feel happy, something terrible happens to instantly take that away and make his pain increase tenfold. First, the incident with Javo, now this. He needs to be off on his own. He'll make sure to visit from time to time, but he's not going back to live with them. He needs to train the Super Saiyan form to control it, and his anger, and he needs to do that without them. Kakarot leaves the group once again, and this time it feels final, that their lives have changed forever, and the Kakarot that they once knew is never coming back. Raditz, Goku, and this time Mark are invited to the lookout to discuss everything about Piccolo, with Kami having Mark come along since he's the one who has Piccolo's egg. Thankfully, with this egg, Kami didn't die when Piccolo did, but Kami still wants to destroy it. Mark tells him that they can't do that. After being there firsthand to see the battle of Kakarot and Piccolo, he knows what having a terrible childhood can do to a person. It's basically taken Kakarot away from all those he knows and loves. This egg is a baby. It has a chance to be evil like Piccolo, but it also has a chance to turn out like Kami. If he raises him right, then maybe he'll turn into a good person. Kami finds that pretty hard to believe, but due to him knowing that Mark is a pure heart, he'll allow him to raise the child. But to be very careful, as they still don't know what this Piccolo Jr. is capable of. Mark thanks Kami for allowing this, and he is sent back to Earth, where him and Miguel get ready to raise Piccolo Jr. and make him a good person, different from his father. Kami also noticed Raditz and Goku's bravery in taking on their own brother to save the world, so offers them a spot up here where they can train with him and become more powerful than ever before. The two know how much of a good opportunity this is and accept Kami's conditions, especially if the whole Mark raising King Piccolo thing doesn't turn out right. They head back down to Earth to say goodbye to their family and friends for now, with Raditz and Bulma coming to the mutual understanding that they should end their relationship. They care very much for each other, but they need to go their separate ways. Raditz has suffered so much family grief that he doesn't have the time for her needs anymore, and she needs to continue with her armor and her own life, so they break their relationship off, but still remain great friends. Raditz and Goku head back to the lookout to begin their training and prepare for any more threats that make their way in the foreseeable future. Out in space, Krillin is now a prisoner in the Galactic Patrol prison, the greatest prison in the universe for, well, monsters like him. To his surprise, he's not being bullied into prison, but admired. He can't understand why, since nobody wants to talk to him. Is it because his tail grew back? He's not sure. One night, in his cell, however, he is awakened by a voice. He screams out in fear over the stranger in the cell, and the stranger tells him to shut up, since nobody can hear him. Krillin asks the stranger what it is he wants, with the stranger saying that he finds him very interesting. He's altered his body into that of a Saiyans to gain a lot of power over them. He can relate to that in a way. He can get him out of here and to friends of his, that way he can get revenge on the Saiyans that wronged him and put him in here in the first place. Do they have a deal? Krillin thinks for a moment and says that no, he'd rather stay in here. The stranger is confused, with Krillin saying that no offense, but last time he made a deal with the green guy, it didn't go so well, and he deserves to be in here. He took an innocent woman's life, and now he's paying for what he did by rotting away in here. The stranger is surprised by Krillin's response. Even in a timeline where he's a villain, he still has some goodness in his heart. Whatever, he'll still find a way to get him to join him. The stranger says that he's missing out, and disappears, leaving Krillin to wonder, what the hell was that all about? Vegeta, Broly, and Tarble have been called in to meet with Frieza, and once they arrive into his quarters, they can see how angry/happy he appears to be. It's very unsettling. Frieza welcomes them inside, and tells them that he's been searching for any information regarding the surviving Saiyans of planet Sadala, ever since Vegeta told him of the one who did this to him still being alive. So far, they found nothing of any other Saiyan being alive, and now he's got a message from some stranger that one of the Saiyans has been caught and is now in the Galactic Patrol prison. So, in order to get information where the remaining Saiyans are and to wipe them out for good, they're going to need a prison break. It's been 3 years since the events of the King Piccolo arc, where all of our heroes have grown in many different ways. First off, on the lookout, Raditz and Goku haven't been the only ones training up here, with Tien and Yajirobe eventually having arrived up there as well. Tien was a suggestion from Goku, since he seemed like he might really needed training the most, being a former member of the Crane School. She really didn't want him to end up like Krillin. He adapted very well on the lookout, being able to take in a lot of Kami's teachings and becoming a much more spiritual man. Goku was very proud of his progress from being just one of Shen's lackeys to a potential candidate for the next Guardian of the Planet. He has grown a lot in this time, and with training with Goku and Raditz, his powers have spiked a lot, and he can pretty much keep up with the Saiyans now. Yajirobe is also another human who made his way to Lookout, but not by anyone suggesting he come up here, he just made it up here by sheer willpower. He had been training with Kakarot for years, and after he left him, he felt he deserved something better. He went to train and live with Korn for a while, until he figured he needed something better, and made his way to Kami's on his own. Kami initially rejected him and wanted him gone from the Lookout, but Goku told him to let him stay, as he's not a bad guy and more training partners would be really fun. Kakarot had trained him well, since Yajirobe was a very strong Ronin, and even managed to surprise Goku and Raditz with what he could do. The group up here have grown very strong, with Kami even deciding to have them test out the hyperbolic time chamber to see how long they could last in such conditions. Goku and Tien went inside first, with them not doing so well and only lasting for a few months before having to leave. However, Raditz and Yajirobe were able to last a whole hell of a lot longer. Raditz was able to last for a long time due to his Saiyan strength and the false Super Saiyan state, but Yajirobe was able to last so long since he just loved being in isolated places. Raditz thought it was super odd since this dude was the last person he thought could have lasted for so long in here, but he was doing it. They managed to last for a whole year in the chamber, with the rough conditions allowing for immense growth. Through all the rough conditions of the chamber, and him dealing with the trauma of his brother, Raditz was eventually able to finally move past from his false Super Saiyan form and evolve it into the true legend, the Super Saiyan. Once the two leave the chamber, Goku is super proud of her brother for unlocking the form as well, but they're saying she's doing her best to get at least one of the forms, but it's proving to be pretty hard for her. Eventually, it gets to the point of training where Kami has nothing left to teach any of them, with even Yajirobe surpassing him and Mr. Popo by miles. So, it's time for them to return to Earth and participate in the next World Tournament, to test the Demon King Piccolo Jr. On Earth, Mark, Yamcha, and Chi-Chi have been doing their best to raise Piccolo Jr. into a better person. It's worked for the most part, with him evolving past his goal of getting revenge on Goku. Due to the good people that raised him, Mark and Miguel, he was able to get a pretty good childhood. I mean, he didn't have too much of a childhood since he grew into an adult pretty quickly, but it was a childhood where he was able to become more social and get a nice life. He was taught the differences between right and wrong, and while he was super moody, he was never evil about it. He mainly has become how Frieza Saga Piccolo was in canon in the personality department, which is insane character growth. His power is still just as great as in canon, though in this reality, it's not as high as most of the Saiyans. Especially the likes of Kakarot, who is still in isolation, never even having met the new Piccolo. Mark made sure he didn't, since he had no idea how Kakarot would react, and Piccolo was nowhere near strong enough to contend with the likes of the legendary Super Saiyan yet. He has gotten a lot of good training with the group though, and has even been enlisted into Launch's newest bodyguard organization. He is one of the best hired help she has, and he's become one of the world's best bodyguards, with him being tasked to protect King Furry against the many assassination attempts against him. He develops a pretty good connection with Blonde Launch especially, since their personalities are basically the same, so the two of them work great together. All of the money that Piccolo gets, he gives to his foster parents, which is a pretty hefty amount, so Mark and Miguel are able to become super rich and have a nice mansion they can live in with Piccolo. Eventually, the day arrives of the next World Tournament, with Mark excited to prove Kami wrong, and that Piccolo could become a good person if raised properly. They all prepare to head off to the tournament and meet up with Goku and Raditz once more. The day of the tournament, outside of the island, there is a large glowing red light forming, with it continuing to form until it explodes into a shape, the shape of a time machine. The time machine plummets into the ocean, with both Trunks and Ranch escaping the pod in time and catching it before it falls into the ocean. Trunks turns it back into a capsule, and the two breathe a little easier now. They fly over to a nearby island and wonder what the hell happened. Why did the time machine act like that when they tried to return to the present? Ranch wonders if they're even back home now, or if they got blasted to another period of time altogether. Trunks really hopes not, and tries to sense for Gohan and Bonchuri, but doesn't come up with anything. They could be suppressing their powers, but he's still not sure. There are a lot of people on this island too, and while humanity has begun to thrive once more after the death of the androids, there normally aren't this many people around. As they try to think of what to do next, they hear their names called out from behind them. They wheel around to see what looks like Goku walking towards them. Goku jumps into both of their arms, saying she's so happy to see them again. Shuri's worried when they disappeared 6 years ago, and she was so worried that something bad happened. But she's so grateful that they're back now. She pulls the heart medication vial out of her shirt, showing that she's made it into a necklace to remember them by. The two are very shocked by seeing the female Goku they just encountered all grown up, and that apparently it's been 6 years since she last saw them. The two tell Goku they're happy to see her again too, though they're pretty bummed that they're still in this very strange alternate timeline, and that they've only moved forward 6 years in time. Ranch is weirded out by seeing Raditz behind Goku, since he's looking like he aged a lot more than 6 years by the looks of him. He looks a lot more like the man she knows, and she has to hold herself together not to cry by looking at him and remembering her dad. Raditz asks why they came back to the past and if something else in the future went wrong that they need to know about. Before either one of them can answer, Mark and the others show up, surprised on seeing Goku and Raditz for sure, but really surprised on seeing Trunks and Ranch back. Of course, only Mark and Chi-Chi recognize them as the group, but it's still a nice surprise anyways. Trunks and Ranch are really surprised to see Piccolo, since this is Bonchuri's father. How weird. They also heard that he was supposed to be a villain around this time, so why is he just walking around with Mark and Chi-Chi? Piccolo can sense some strange power coming from the two, but doesn't question them on it since he can tell that they're good people, based on the fact that, like, everybody else apparently knows who they are. Ranch notices how powerful her mom is here, and that it's very strange, as her mom is more powerful than she ever knew her to be. Is this a result of them messing around with the timeline? Trunks notices that both of Ranch's parents are here, but where's Bulma? Gine says that she's on her way now. She just had to make a quick pit stop to pick somebody up. They all ask who that somebody is, with Gine smiling pretty big as she realizes that nobody here knows. She says that it's a surprise, and they'll see in a minute. After waiting around for a minute, Bulma flies in with her armor and lands directly in front of them. Trunks and Ranch stumble back in awe. This is Bulma? Bulma made armor for herself? Bulma retracts the suit and apologizes for being late, and once Bulma peels back the suit, everybody almost dies from a heart attack, with Gine laughing at everybody's reaction. Bulma is holding a little purple-haired girl in her arms. Trunks, spazzing out, slowly raises his finger up, asking who that baby is, with Bulma glaring at him first, still mad that they abandoned them so long ago, when they definitely could have used their help many times. But she answers the question anyway. This is her daughter, Caulifla. Trunks faints. Raditz and Goku rush over to look at the baby, noticing that she has a tail. This must mean Bulma sighs and tells Raditz not to get mad, but yeah, the baby is Kakarot's. Raditz faints now, with Goku all giddy that she's an auntie to her best friend's kid. She picks up Caulifla, riding her around on her shoulders, saying she's very happy to meet her, with Caulifla laughing, being swung around by her aunt. Ranch tries to pick Trunks back up, with her trying her best not to collapse as well. The tournament announcer then announces for everybody willing to participate in the tournament to please enter now, with Ranch and Goku having to drag Trunks and Raditz's unconscious bodies over to the rating area. While the others all go out in for the bout, Gine asks Bulma if Kakarot is going to show up, with her saying no. He's not ready to see everybody again yet, and he wishes them well, but he's just hanging out in the woods, acting all like a Saiyan. Once Trunks and Raditz come to, they both ask how Caulifla happened. Bulma slaps him across the face, saying not to be idiots. It's really none of their business. But after what happened with Piccolo, she went to visit Kakarot a lot, and one thing led to another, and Caulifla was born. She's not old at all, as she was only born a few months ago. While Raditz is surprised that she left him for his younger brother, Trunks is shocked that he still exists. His mom had a kid a lot earlier than she was supposed to, and the kid is Goku's? Or he means Kakarot's? And it's not Gohan, but a girl named Caulifla? Dear God, him and Ranch have changed so much. As everybody goes to get ready for the tournament, Mark almost has a heart attack after he sees who is competing. It's Mercenary Tao. Raditz, Gine, and Goku perk up at that name. Tao? They thought he was in jail. This time, he looks much different. Almost as if he's been enhanced. Enhanced? This gets to Trunks and Ranch. Enhanced like a cyborg? That's impossible. The only one who could have done that is Jiro, and Trunks killed him. Goku growls looking at Tao, saying that while he did kill Jiro, his son, Javo, survived and went on to carry out his father's work. He kidnapped her and did tests on her, with Tao being one of his henchmen. Apparently he's out of prison, and if he is, then that must mean Javo is out as well, and he turned Tao into whatever he is now. Javo. Trunks and Ranch turned to each other. He was there 6 years ago, wasn't he? They had no idea that was Jiro's son. Trunks powers up into a Super Saiyan, enraged that he was so stupid. He should have taken him out as well. He can't allow any relatives of Jiro to survive, and he's going to find him and put a stop to him. Trunks barrels off from the tournament in anger, with Ranch trying to follow after him. But Gine puts a hand on her shoulder, telling her, not now. He has no idea where he even is. He's not in any danger, and plus she can tell he just needs to be away for a while. Ranch only stands down since this is her grandmother she's never met before talking to her. She believes her and hears her out. Piccolo can tell that Mark is rattled by seeing Tao and asks why he's so scared of him. Mark tells Piccolo that years ago, when he was a little boy, his master was killed in front of him at the Satan Dojo, and the one who killed him was Mercenary Tao. He dedicated his life to getting revenge and went to Rest City to train in another dojo, where he met Goku and got a new life to forget about Tao. But now that he's right here before him, all the memories are back. He had no idea that he was part of the Red Ribbon Army either, and was the one who experimented on Goku. Now he needs revenge more than ever, and he believes he finally has the power to stop him. Piccolo shrugs it off. He may be enhanced by some kind of robotics, but he's pretty sure Mark can handle it. He'll use his magic to fix the fight and get the two to fight each other. Mark gives Piccolo a hug to thank him, with Piccolo pushing him off, but saying not to mention it. Now, this tournament isn't as serious as the previous two, as the group are really beginning to grow out of the whole world tournaments at this point, but it's sort of a last hurrah kind of tournament, as they know it's probably going to be the last one they attend. Most of the group stay out of it, though we do get some exceptions. For one, Ranch is convinced by the group to join. She's pretty against it at first, as she doesn't want to mess with the timeline any more than she already has, but Raditz tells her he wants to see what a future Super Saiyan is capable of. The tournament is going to go with Mark vs. Tao, Goku vs. Chi-Chi, Tien vs. Piccolo, and then Raditz vs. Ranch. The first match begins with Mark meeting in the ring with Tao, who says that he's surprised to see little boy Mark all grown up, and in this tournament of all places. He would have assumed that he'd go off and hide instead of having to die just like his master. Mark explodes in anger, yelling that his name is Hercule now, and no freaky new robot makeover is going to keep him away. He's finally going to get revenge for his master. Hercule powers up and explodes into his newest buff form, which shocks Tao. Hercule lands a smackdown on Tao, and even with his new cybernetic enhancements, he can't land any damaging blows at all. He straight up just goes for the kill shot, launching a rocket at him, but Hercule unleashes a Kamehameha that blows the rocket away and launches Tao away from the ring as well, making him the winner. Hercule returns to normal, with Goku congratulating him for getting his revenge, though she wishes he kept him a little close by so they could question him about the rest of the Red Ribbon Army. Hercule apologizes and she says not to worry, that they'll just track him down next time. The next match between Goku and Chi-Chi is a pretty fun one, as Chi-Chi gets to show off more of her magic, and Goku gets to show off her Kami training. Of course, it's basically a one-sided matchup, with Goku beating the crap out of Chi-Chi, but it's still a fun match regardless. Then we move on to Tien vs. Piccolo, with Tien testing out how strong Piccolo is and how much he's different from his father for Kami. Piccolo is indeed a very strong warrior, being trained by Hercule, Yamcha, Chi-Chi, and Launch. But Tien has grown a hell of a lot under Kami, so he's able to match up with Piccolo in terms of strength. Their fight would be as brutal as the original Goku vs. Piccolo Jr. fight in canon, with the only exception being that Piccolo isn't trying to kill Tien here since he's not evil. This is a great fight, with Tien taking it in the end of course, but Piccolo isn't mad about that, since it was a great fight. And he also managed to prove to Tien that he's a lot different from his father, so they don't need to worry about him. Now, we move on to the last match of round 1, with Raditz versus Ronch. Again, Ronch doesn't really want to be in this tournament, but her lust for fighting got the better of her, and a chance to spar with her dad again, she couldn't pass that up. Raditz, still not knowing who she is quite yet, wants to show off his Super Saiyan power to her, as she's the first Super Saiyan that he ever saw, and he wants to test his might on her. The two get into a pretty good sparring session, with Ronch obviously being the more powerful of the two, but Raditz is a lot more powerful than she expected him to be, which excites her. As the fight goes on, Raditz tells her to power up into her Super Saiyan form, but Ronch says that he's not ready for that and the fight will be over in an instant if she does. Raditz smiles and says that he's not so sure about that. He then powers himself up into his own legendary Super Saiyan state. Ronch is blown away by seeing this form. Her father can go Super Saiyan already? He wasn't supposed to reach that state until years from now. Did her showing the form allow him to get it so early? Raditz rushes in to attack her, with her powering up into her own Super Saiyan state. The two battle it out, but the spectators flabbergasted by seeing these two blonde-haired warriors fly around and clash. Ronch is very impressed with their father's strength. As well, it still doesn't match hers. It's not something to sneeze at either. She eventually forfeits the fight, as she doesn't want to progress anymore in the tournament, but tells Raditz that he's exceeded her expectations, and he's going to be a great help if the Red Ribbon Army comes back. From here, the rest of the tournament is just fun for everybody, with Mark showing off his new buff form to Goku, with her impressed but still winning in the end. Then, Raditz and Tien spar, with Raditz coming out on top and meeting his sister in the final round. They make it a rule for Raditz not to go Super Saiyan against Goku, with her showing off more of her power and skills, and is able to beat Raditz in the end, with her finally becoming the world champion. The group celebrate her victory, with them asking Ronch if she's going to be sticking around for a little longer this time. Ronch says that she'd like to, but she needs to find Trunks and get back to their own time. Bulma tells her that she'd like to have a look at this time machine, and while Ronch is against it, Bulma eventually convinces her. So, Ronch shows her the machine, with Bulma very interested in seeing that it's a Capsule Corp design. Did she maybe have a hand in creating this machine? Ronch doesn't confirm it directly, but does give a smile to indicate that she's right. Ronch goes into the cockpit to look around, and her heart drops by what she sees. The fuel tanks. She completely forgot. They had enough for a round trip, heading into the past and then returning home. 2 trips. They used up those 2 trips and the machine sent them to this time now, meaning they're out of fuel. They're stuck in the past. Trunks has been angrily flying around for a few hours now. He knows that he won't be able to find Javo on his own since he can't send his energy at all, but he needed a breather. So much has gone wrong, with his mom having a kid with Kakarot, Ronch and him being stuck here, with Javo, the new Jiro. So much has changed, and he's not sure what he can do to stop it. He reverts back to normal, and lands on the ground, considering going back to Ronch so they can figure out their next move. He turns to leave when he senses somebody behind him. He draws his sword, asking them to come out, when he sees Kakarot behind him. Kakarot looks at him, trying to remember who he is. He points out his finger, saying that he kinda recognizes him from 6 years ago. He's the one who killed Jiro, right? Trunks puts his sword away and says that yes, he is, and he must be Kakarot. Kakarot says he is, and that this must be Trunks. His sister told him about him. He's supposed to be from the future, right? If he's from the future, then that must mean he has some kind of time machine? Trunks doesn't like where this is going and backs away a little. Why? Kakarot powers up into his Super Saiyan form, which really shocks Trunks. Kakarot demands that he give him the machine now. If he can use his time machine, then he can go back in time and prevent all of this. He can prevent ever having landed at the Red Ribbon, and he can prevent Vomi's death. He needs that machine now. Trunks tells him that's impossible. There's no way he's having that time machine. Kakarot sighs, saying, so be it, and he rushes towards Trunks to take it by force. Trunks powers up and holds off Kakarot, saying he can't let him take the machine. They need it for themselves to get back home. Kakarot yells out that he needs it to change his life. If they're allowed to change theirs by showing up back here, then he should be allowed to change his. Trunks holds off Kakarot, with Kakarot annoyed that this guy is able to hold him back. He fights the best that he can, but it makes no difference. This is an opponent that he really can't beat. He's never had to deal with that before. As they continue to brawl, Bulma and Ronch show up, with Bulma holding Caulifla in her arms. Seeing his daughter, Kakarot reverts back to normal, and he growls at Bulma, asking why she brought her here. Bulma marches straight up to Kakarot and slaps him across the head. She says that he's really going to try to steal the time machine and go back to prevent his daughter from being born. Kakarot snaps that he didn't mean it like that. He would never do anything to prevent Caulifla from being born. He tries to justify his words with his very young daughter staring at him. He begins to tear up, turning his back to Bulma, saying that he didn't mean it like that. He apologizes to Trunks, saying that he won't ever hear from him again, and he flies off. Ranch helps Trunks recover and tells him that she told Bulma everything, and she knows now. Bulma goes up to touch Trunks' face, and she says that she can see the resemblance. He's her son, and that must mean that Kakarot is his father. That must have sucked. Trunks and Ranch look at each other and don't say anything about Trunks' father. Bulma says that she's going to help them, the way they helped her and the others years ago. She may not have all the necessary tools to fix the machine now, but she'll do her best to fix the machine and get them back to their own time. Trunks smiles and thanks his mother, happy that the cat is out of the bag on the whole reveal. Now they should return to Capsule Corp and get the machine all fixed up. Ranch tells Trunks that while they may be stuck here for a bit, they can do their best to change things for the better. Clearly they can't change the past with their actions, since by the way things are so drastically changed, then they probably would have disappeared by now. So, if they can train up the current Z fighters and find Javot, then the threat of the androids is gone for good. And with the people from this era's help, they might be able to get strong enough to get rid of their threat in the future. Trunks agrees with her, and while he's still pretty weirded out by everything that's happened in this time period, he knows that things can look up from here, and that they'll be able to fix everything. Trunks and Ranch fist bump and fly off with Bulma, determined to help this timeline the best that they can to make a better future for everybody. Jocko stands bleeding, barely able to stand on his feet. The Galactic Patrol prison is done for. The Saiyans destroyed almost everything, with so many patrol members dead, just to get to one prisoner. Broly flies up in front of him, his hand extended, ready to take him out. Jocko closes his eyes, disappointed that a super elite like him was bested so easily. Before he is wiped out though, Tarble stands in Broly's way, saying that's enough. Nobody else has to die now. They got what they came for. Tarble has always been the one to calm Broly down, so he lowers his hand and backs away from Jocko. Jocko, relieved, collapses to the ground unconscious. Vegeta walks up to Krillin's cell and rips it open. Krillin tries to fight him off, but he's no match for the Prince of All Saiyans. Vegeta grabs him by the collar and tells him to reveal the location of the Saiyan named Bardock. Krillin whimpers, saying he doesn't know any Saiyan named Bardock. Vegeta raises his hand and erupts into the Super Saiyan form, saying he has one more chance to tell him. Krillin has a heart attack at seeing this golden form once again from somebody other than Kakarot. He bursts out that he doesn't know any Bardock, but he knows a Kakarot, a Goku, a Raditz, a Gine, and there might be some others on Earth, but he has no idea where. The names Gine and Raditz strike Vegeta. Gine, that's the wife of Bardock. He turns to Nappa, asking him if Gine was the one who almost killed him all those years ago. Nappa glares and feels the scar on his chest, saying that yep, that was the wife of Bardock. Vegeta smiles and turns back to Krillin, asking where she is. Krillin says that she's on Earth, with Vegeta telling him that he's going to take them there, and if he finds out that he's lying, then he's going to suffer a fate worse than death. Vegeta kidnaps Krillin, with those two, Broly, Tarble, and Nappa leaving the prison. Vegeta radios to Frieza that they managed to find a wife of Bardock, the one named Gine, and that she's on a planet called Earth. They're taking the Saiyan Krillin there now to see her, and he'll report back as soon as possible. Frieza congratulates the group on a job well done, and he says he's looking forward to find out where the Saiyan who did this to him is. Toma can't believe his ears. He's been on duty today to listen in on what has been going on through the Frieza Force scouters, and he's discovered what Frieza and Vegeta have said. He rushes over to Bardock to tell him what happened, with Bardock exploding into a Super Saiyan in rage. They found Gine on Earth? If he was defeated by that Broly, then there's no way she'll stand any chance. He has to get to Earth now. Toma does his best to try and stop Bardock, since if he couldn't defeat Broly before, how does he think he's going to fare now? Bardock says he's not sure, but he can't just stand around for his wife and kids to be killed. He takes off in his ship and alerts Turles about what is happening, and that they might need backup just in case. Turles tells him he'll try his best to get there in time, and he hangs up. Bardock looks on, hoping he can get to Earth before the other Saiyans, and that he can save his family. And with that, we're finally finished Season 1 of MASAKOX's What Affinity. I really hope you guys enjoyed this series so far, as this has been one of the funnest projects to work on this channel. We're finally done with the original Dragon Ball portion of the series, and my god, there was so much I had to do, so much research I had to do for the videos and compiling them all together. I'm telling you, it freaking took forever, man. And I'm in for a much bigger task with the Dragon Ball Z portion. So I hope you guys are very much looking forward to that, as that's gonna be a freaking wild ride. So if you guys want to see that, make sure to like this video and subscribe, as you'll be able to be notified as when Season 2 premieres. Alright, and before I go, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of my amazing patrons. In the official patron tier, we have Nathan, BBB, Bossmaker, and Michelle Wilmez. In the Moving Up in the World tier, we have Patrick Sanelin, John Lister, Sinshenron92, Oak Woodtree, Boris, Monal, Blake Foyer, True Lightning Striker, Semra, The Boy Swaggy, and Faisal Al-Sharif. In the VIP patron tier, we have Levin726. And finally, in the God tier, we have Tails Homie 99. Thank you, especially Tails Homie 99. You are an absolute god. And thank all of you so very much for watching, and make sure to stay tuned for the full story compilation of Season 1 and for Season 2. Thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, see you later!